Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Above the Bar podcast, the show about a middle-aged father, current events, and how these things affect my everyday life. Alrighty, folks, welcome to another episode of the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We are bellowing up to the bar today. We have brought with us the fourth member of ZZ Top.
Watch it, buddy.
Moses' illegitimate child. And I'm trying to think of another great one.
Aren't you the guy from Duck Dynasty?
That's a good one.
It's not. It's actually not.
No, I was actually thinking more of Grizzly Adams' illegitimate child, but we have brought with us from the Talking Beard Network, the mentor for Aaron D. Johnson, the man. And look at it. It didn't look at that. Sun's out, guns out. It did not take long.
I know. I was waiting for that one to happen.
Aaron, second.
I'm going to punish you.
Oh, he's got that.
Punish you.
Wait a sec, because if you know, I love T-shirts. This one, let's give hugs.
I know, with the alien on it.
You gotta love that. But we have with us Mr. Scott Sykora. Is it Sykora? Sykora. How are we gonna pronounce it?
It's Sykora all day long, every day.
I actually like that. It has like a real, it has a rock and roll vibe to it.
Well, because I'm a rock and roll guy.
Are you almost a jukebox hero?
I am a jukebox hero. I mean, I've been featured on many jukeboxes worldwide.
I love it.
That could be a package we unwrap later or not.
But that sounds interesting because this would be something I wouldn't know. But as always, folks, we got to get into our do some house cleaning here. As always, we have over my right shoulder. Let's see if I get it right as I bang into the mic. And look, who's that? Who do we have right there? Can you see it?
Oh, I know I can't because it's dumb.
It's a dumb sticker.
I don't look at dumb things, so
it's a dumb sticker. But as always, folks, we have sticker and a cause. One of the most important things that we do here, sticker and a cause. If you've got something that you support, a cause. As you see, we've got our Aaron D sticker up there because we support our brothers over at the Talking Beard Network. As you can see going across the screen.
Why didn't he send you one of these?
You know what? He didn't set. I have the cards somewhere here.
Well, we'll have to make sure we get you one of those.
I have that.
Yeah. All right. Continue with what you were doing. I'm sorry to rudely interrupt your housekeeping. It's like I was pulling the rug out from underneath you while you were vacuuming it.
Just vacuumed my rug out. But we have. If you have a cause, you have something that you support. I don't care if it's a podcast. I don't care if it's the local Girl Scout troop, whatever it is that you support, whatever your thing is, make sure you send me a sticker for it. Look, I told you, everyone's already chiming in. ZZ Top Beard, we knew that was coming. And one of my closest friends, Ray Galliano, who always is telling me, he's another Marine. He's always wants me to shave my beard because Ray knew me in my Marine Corps days when all this was smooth as a baby's bottom. So we have that. And then, and I've told people before where I stole this from, and I will always admit to it. We have to share away with our show. That is something I got from the folks over at Talking Beards. And we know the plan. You share this show until you get kicked off of every yard sale site that you belong to. That is always the goal. Or somebody goes ahead and sends you a message. My favorite, you'll like this one, Scott. So I always like it when people send me messages when I've shared something and some admin just posts it on I belong to I like TV a lot. And especially, have you ever watched the show Magicians on Sci-Fi Channel?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Probably not though.
So this is one of my favorite stories I've told a couple of times. It's like adult Harry Potter with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's wild. But the show's off the air. It ended during COVID. They're not bringing it back, but it was a really good show, 5-6 seasons. They made it syndication.
Was it about magic by some chance?
Like there was a good shot of it that there was definitely about magic, and it was like dark. Like they were in college.
Oh, and no lights on?
The light was taken from. They didn't have the light in their lives that they needed.
Oh,
Get a little ASMR here for a moment.
hence why it was dark.
But what was great was one day some guy was like, "This has nothing to do with the show Magicians. Why is it even up here?" And my response was, "Because listening to my voice is just magic."
It is just magic.
So, but we're going to get into what I have to say. And here on the Earplug Podcast Network, I think we have the same kind of vibe here as Talking Beards of we support other people who do what they want to do and enjoy their shows. But these gentlemen kind of pioneered a style or a theme of show. And I'll let Scott kind of tell what their show platform is about, what their network is about, and how it kind of kicked off. Go for it there, good sir.
Yeah, no problem, Ray. Sorry,
Ray.
I was looking at Ray down there on the bottom. He said, as you were saying that, sorry, Sean. But anyways, yeah, Talking Beards was a show that kind of grew out of something I was doing prior to that called the Beardcaster. I was doing just a straight up podcast called the Beardcaster, and it was basically about competitive bearding, which for those of you, I'm pretty sure if anyone's watching the show or listening to this, have no idea what that is. And basically what it is there are competitions all across the country every weekend, well, until COVID hit, but now it's all starting to spark back up. Competitions every weekend all across the country, beard contests. But the whole underlying thing of all of them is they're all charity events. And of course that's what the one thing that really hooked me into it, and was the one thing that really hooked me into wanting to do a podcast about it, because I was like, wow, this is like a really interesting concept of there's all these like mini pop-up charity events going on all over across the country based off of who has a better beard than someone else. Like, to me, this is like ridiculous. And so as I was like trying to decide about, how I wanted to do a podcast, I'm like, oh, I started researching. At this point, I was already competing anyways, but I was finding out that, I mean, every weekend we're looking at 200-300 people gathering in one location on the East Coast, 200-500 people gathering on the West Coast. And it's just like every weekend, it's like hundreds and hundreds of people just getting together. And it's like these amounts of money that these groups of people were raising for, and it wasn't national charities. It was these small little like mom and pop charities, or these like, hey, I have a friend who lost an arm in, this or that, and he's having difficulties getting a prosthetic. I mean, it's stuff like that. It's
Neighborhood charities, local.
Yeah. Because I mean, I could tell stories about working with national charities, and that's a horrible story to get into. And I don't want to bash any national charities, because they are doing help, but for the level of our participation, they kind of are like, they don't give two craps about who we are. And if we're cutting them a check for $5,000 or $6,000, to them, that's a flea on them. And they're just disrespectful and like, oh, hey, thanks.
Oh yeah. We appreciate you.
Yeah. And it's like, I think we've learned over the years that, we'd rather work with people that appreciate
right
what we do. But so anyways, getting back to your question, Sean. So the Talking Beards show is basically about competitive bearding, and it's a talk show, news show. We have guests on, and basically we talk to people who are putting on a competition, like upcoming weeks in the different city, and they talk about their contests, they talk about categories, they talk about their charity, and we kind of get like a little idea of like the flavor of what's going on just in these little towns or cities across the country each week. And as we started doing this in COVID hit. I mean, I've been doing this since 2015. I started the
Oh, wow.
podcast, and what's going on? Are we okay?
Yeah. Well, my fatty caddy
Uh-oh.
is downstairs, and he's such a
Oh, so you're a
mush.
cat guy too.
I've got 2 cats and a dog.
Oh.
My dog's a senior citizen. She's 13.
Oh no, 14's the death age. I'm learning for dogs. I'm sorry to say.
It's funny. It was not funny, haha, but funny, like odd that you would say. So our other dog who passed away 4 years ago was 14.
So
And one of our longtime listeners, Anthony Hoyes, who's a great guy, his puppy just passed away at 16.
ooh, well, see, that's you got a couple extra years, but yeah, I've been dealing with a lot of people who've had dogs that are like literally 14 years old that they've either put down within the past 6 months or are having like issues, and that
Yeah.
just seems like 14 is the magical age. But
I mean, it is weird at that point that, but I guess if you're at that age, what are they, 98 years old?
there's a different. I was seeing that there is a different mathematical calculation to dogs' ages.
It's not the 7?
No, it's not. It actually fluctuates. Like for like their first few years, it's like 4 to 6 years, and then it increases. And then when they get older, then it decreases. Like, and so it's not that 7 that
Does it
we've
average
always
out to
known.
7?
Yeah.
Does it average though to 7?
It may. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not a scientist.
I mean, maybe even a veterinarian.
I'm not a veterinarian.
But you're my dog. Ah!
Watch, my thumb came off.
So, and you have a connection to my area, and he never answers.
What?
You're a newsman.
Oh, you're up in upstate New York. Oh, you're Canadian too?
No, I'm not Canadian. I do like poutine though. Have you ever had poutine?
Yes, I've had poutine. In fact, the first time I had it was in McDonald's in Toronto.
I know
how
was that?
Not the same. It's not this. I mean, this was like when I was like 18 years old, and I was like, "What? Wait a minute. What is poutine? Like French fries with let's get it." I mean, and of course, McDonald's like ruins everything. So,
right.
But I've had like traditional, like
legit.
Yeah, cheese curds and everything. Like, it is the greatest thing Canada ever gave to the world.
Yeah. Well, that and box lacrosse. That's the other. I mean, I'm a box lacrosse fan.
Oh, or hockey.
No. See, that's what's funny. And we've talked about this on the show. Canada's national sport is box lacrosse.
What is box lacrosse? What is that?
So you know what lacrosse is, right?
Yeah.
So because there's such hockey nuts up there, the Canadians invented the sport of box lacrosse so that their hockey players could have somewhere to practice on the same size rink.
Mm-hmm.
But because a lot of them played lacrosse, they did it with lacrosse sticks. It's considered as the fastest sport on 2 feet. And I promise you, it is the most brutal sport you will ever watch in your life.
So, all right. So you're telling me that there's like lacrosse guys in skates going around as
not in skates,
rink?
sneakers. So they wear
though?
No ice. So it's sneakers. If you Google war on the floor, it's unreal.
Yeah, but I could see this being so much more exciting if it was like the guys in lacrosse gear with the ball and the sticks on ice skates.
That would be, I'll give it to you. That would be a heck of a bounce off of that ball too on the ice.
Heck yeah, man. They'd have to increase the sidewalls and everything in that.
It would be, but it's like, we're actually just getting a official box team here in Albany, which is so odd because we have one of the best college programs out there, and we're finally getting an indoor box team. I bought season tickets. I'm so excited for it.
Kitty the runner's like, the most brutal sport I've watched is you run, Sean.
Yeah, well, so I've known Kathy for at least 20 years now, at a minimum. And yes, I used to be a runner in the Marine Corps for a long time, and I don't do that anymore. I did like those days
are running.
Well, I talked to somebody about this. One of the guys I used to work with, we were talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, why don't you do that?" I said, "Because the shit's not tied to my paycheck anymore."
Yeah, that is, but it is also tied to your health, though.
I still do push-ups. I still do yard work. I walk. I have 2 feet. I'm good.
All right. I mean,
I mean,
if you feel that's all you need to do,
uh,
I mean, I'm not going to dispute you.
that's. I'm not buff like you.
I'm not buff.
Look at them arms.
Oh, stop it. Now you're starting to sound like my mom.
Honey, what's going on with your arms? Do you been working out? What's happening here?
They're a little flabby under there. You must not be eating all your dishes for dinner.
Look at this. You didn't clear your plate, did you? I know it. Is that velvet? Is that beard velvet? That's beautiful.
That's very good. I like how you did that.
Oh. Oh, I love you too, Kitty. It's been a while. I got to get down to Florida. But so you do have it's Matt's his name, the one that's up here by me, right?
Matt McClure. I don't know. I mean, you said
he's Onondaga. He's in Onondaga, I believe.
All right. How far are you from Scranton?
So Scranton would be south and west from me, but I used to live in Pennsylvania, and a buddy of mine was the Marine Corps recruiter that ran the Scranton station.
So speaking of Scranton, in September 11th, 12th, and 13th, is the National Beard and Mustache Championships. And it's going to be in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's going to be office themed.
Right. And it should be.
So I do hear that there might be one of the office cast members as one of the judges on the panel for this thing. There's 52 categories.
So this is wild to me. Can you that's something that I talked about with Aaron before, and it blows my. So you're in the goatee category.
Yes.
Because you have nothing on the side.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a style. So like for Aaron and I, we do goatee. Like he definitely there. So we're always like in events like this, we get separated. Because mine's not as long as his. He's in like the over. But mine's wider and more satisfying than his. Yeah, you like that. But yeah. So they subdivide so many different things. Like you have your beards, your full beard categories. So you might have a full beard, and they go 0 to 3 inches. And then 3 to 6 inches, then 6 to 8 inches, and then 8 to 10 inches, and then 10 to 12 inches, and then 12 plus. So that's really the bulk of the guys that you're going to have competing, because like most guys like you, I mean, guys just grow beards like that. So you'd fit under the 4-inch category. So you'd be in like the beginner category or whatever, but most guys will grow their beards out that are full beards like that. But then everyone kind of has a style or preference. And for me, when I always started growing my beard when I was in high school, which was 83 years ago, I never liked, I just always shaved into a goatee. I never liked having hair on my cheek.
Well, I think it's our age group. Like the goatee was the thing.
In the
back 90s. In the 90s?
Yeah. I mean, so obviously we're on the same age. I'm 46.
I'm 44.
Yeah, see, so you're older than me, but yeah, back then, like you were like loving Creed, and you're like, oh my God,
yes.
Money, I gotta grow a beard like that, the chin strap and all that stuff. But I like that. Sean's got a baby beard. But yeah, so I've always just I've never liked having hair on my cheeks. And one time I did grow it, and I just was like, oh my God. I felt so gross, and just like, it just didn't fit me. Amanda Love's like, oh, beards, sorry to hear you're only 4 inches.
Hey, it's like a tuna can though.
That's what I'm saying.
It's all about. But see, you know what? I was in my first bearded competition. I didn't tell you.
No, I did not know this.
So what's the Emporium?
The Beard Emporium. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I can't think of the name right now. I just remember Emporium.
It was an online one. Was it the? Man, you're putting me on the spot here.
Yep.
This is not what I was prepared for. The
Well,
Grooming Emporium.
Grooming Emporium. Thank you. Well,
Yes.
I
Kearney
definitely
Molinaro and the Grooming Emporium, and he's
great guys.
juggling on his unicycle.
Great guys.
Yes.
Was a lot of fun. I definitely there you go. Grooming.
Shut up, Aaron. Don't correct me. I had it right first, so you're dumb.
So I definitely was the guy who, like, I read the post and I was like, hey, anybody under a 6-inch beard, go ahead and message me. I was like, oh, well, you know, mine's definitely not that big of a beard. I'll go ahead and then I see these guys entering on top of it. I'm like, well, some bitch, like these guys are like, I'm like, that's who's measuring this shit. I definitely got wore out, but I definitely talked the most smack. I was like,
That's
just
what you gotta. That's
that
what
was
you
so
gotta
much fun.
do.
It was
That's
just fun.
That's exactly it. Like it's a stupid guy beauty pageant. That's what it basically boils
100%.
down to. And I like that how you said you talk smack.
Yeah.
And like so I think last week Aaron and I recorded our 200th episode. So I've been
Which
like
is huge.
Thank you. So anyways, like I said, I've been since 2015, I've been doing the podcast, and then it evolved into what Talking Beards is now, which is now it went strictly from just a podcast, a one-on-one interview with someone, to now it's like more of like a news style show where we have segments, we interview a guest, we talk about different competitions and stuff like that. And so we recorded the 200th episode, and it was kind of like him going back and like talking about like how we met and
So how did you meet him? Or do we have to listen to 200 episode to find out?
I would say that you should.
You should listen.
It's like listen to it. But anyways, we met in, and that's the thing is we were kind of trying to pinpoint it down because Aaron was very shy and like not very. He kind of like hid in the shadows of like at competitions and was just like very. And at the time, I still remember the first time I met him was I was throwing a competition in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm trying to remember what year that was, 2015 or 2016. It was the Great Lakes Beard and Mustache.
The Great Lakes Beard and Mustache Emporium competition.
Great Lakes Regional Beard and Mustache competition. So it was this thing that kind of like traveled around the Great Lakes from like Detroit to Cleveland. And so we kind of passed this competition around, and we had, yeah, this is exactly right. If you could put up what Aaron just said in this.
I haven't. Wait a sec. We'll go with. So we have that one. So Scott said I looked like an asshole.
That is exactly it. But anyways, so that was the first time. So I was throwing this event. Aaron came up from South Carolina to this event that I was part of putting together, and I remember seeing him there, but I was too busy, like, you know, doing stage wrangling and all that stuff. And I was just.
So you were in the competition arena already at that point, like you were.
I started in 2011, 2012, and then, but with as we were kind of talking earlier, like I have a very deep, a deep seed in the music scene. I used to tour manage. I used to book shows. I used to play. I've done every aspect of when it comes to the music scene. So going into the bearding community was like an alternate universe of like, well, I can book events, but I'm going to start booking beard competitions because it's like a concert, and it's so much easier. So I was able to utilize all the things that I learned through doing music stuff to like bring it into the beard world and like be able to throw events and you know, get sponsors and all this stuff that in our area wasn't really happening because it was new and developing, but it had been kind of going on all around the country for a few years. And it, you know, it's just I hate to say it's just a freaking awkward world of like,
What's an
eh,
outsiders event?
what was that?
It's an outsiders event.
Yeah, it is, but it's like when the outsiders come into it, it's changes them like they then all of a sudden feel included in it. And
That's a
that's the
great thing
whole,
about it.
but
Yeah,
that's exactly how we try to present it. It's like this is an event for this, but we want to make everyone feel included in it.
I
And then
love
it's
it.
like they walk away and they're like telling their friends, "Oh my god, you would not believe I saw girls with beards. I saw girls wearing fake beards. I
Well,
saw
Aaron's
these."
wife does that, right? She
Yeah,
makes them.
yeah, Whiskerina realistic. But that's the thing is like involving our significant others into the whole thing kind of like is what really expanded everything. And kind of a lot of like what we're doing now is trying to like find different ways to bring people into like what we do, because like I say, it's a charity event,
Right.
and it's the more people obviously we can get, the better off it is for the charity. It's growing the community, but it's also like trying to help the outside community with what we're doing with literally just a smoke and pony show or a beauty pageant.
Well, you when I think of beard competitions initially, because I was introduced to you guys through Doug Smythe
No, I
introduced
love
me.
him. I love
Doug's a
him.
great guy. I will tell you right now, I'm highly addicted to any of his stuff that has the bay rum smell.
That's exactly what he sent me, and that's the best shit I've
Dude,
ever
is that
used.
not amazing?
I love it.
Like, I actually have the car air freshener with the
Yes,
oil.
yep, I have it too. It's in
Um,
my car.
I have I got to get more of the body soap. I have the beard balm, and then my wife likes it so much. I bought the solid cologne,
Oh yes.
and we actually with our little guy, because he wants to smell like dad, take a little bit of it and put it on our hands because it's just so thin,
Yeah.
and you can rub his hair and he feels like he smells like dad.
Yeah, Douglas is a master with everything that he does. And this diving into a whole nother realm of like another side of Scott Sykora that, you may not have heard about or know, but so I got hooked up through Douglas through a podcasting guest website. I don't know. It just kind of happened and it just was like, wow. I'm like, I do a podcast about
Podcast guest
beer.
directory.
Yeah. Is that how you met him too?
That's how I met him.
Yeah. So, and I got another guy I got to introduce you to because you're into trains, right?
Well, I used to work for the railroad. Yes.
Oh, see, our old host that used to be on Talking Beards, Chris Odom, he's an engineer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, this is great. I got to put the two of you guys together.
Absolutely.
So
I talk trains with him. Is he a buff? Ask him if he's a buff. Is he a buff?
I have no idea what
Or
that
a
means.
foamer?
Oh.
Ask him if he's a buff. Don't ask him if he's a foamer.
Oh.
Ask him if he's a buff. Because that's what they call him. They call them railroad buffs if they're really into trains. Like I have some old friends of mine from when I worked on the railroad that
the livelong day.
Bro, like level of skill with a model. Like I was a kid that like other kids at our age were like, oh, I'm building car models. I'm like, yeah, I'm not building that shit. Where's your sister at? I had no interest in it.
You were building a sister?
Well, I was trying to.
Whoa.
But
dark real fast.
it was a shot. But I got buddies that like build crazy miniatures. You'll have to introduce me. So you met Doug through
so this podcast thing, and so I had him on the show, and I was like, I figured it would be really cool because it's definitely a different dynamic. It's like a beard guy versus a guy that's all about promoting shaving, but yet he has
an amazing mustache,
beard, and a mustache, and like it was like instantaneous, like just friendship. He's just such a great guy.
He is,
and just hearing about the whole world of shaving, being a bearded guy, and like his multi-cartridge conspiracy,
which I have to agree with him. It sounds pretty legit.
It is, but until you find Harry's razors, which
he hates Harry's.
Harry's razors makes the best razors to shave your head.
He hates Harry's. I
I
use
don't
his.
I don't care. He
I
keeps telling me to use this single edge
I
stuff.
I swear by his single edge. I
I
pr-
I
Go
agree
ahead.
with you 100%. 100%. Like if I'm shaving my face, I'm all about that single. The stuff that he sent me is ridiculous. Those blades, like I could not believe, like he sent me an assortment of blades, like 4 different types of blades. I could not believe the different shaves I got from these different blades.
Yes.
Like I was like dumbfounded. Like, are you serious? Like this one blade that looks identical to this one, like gives me a completely different shave than I've ever gotten in my life.
And I, as a guy who in the Marine Corps, I shaved every day
Yeah.
with like, you buy the ones like, look at this. It's got 35 blades, takes right down to the bone.
Yeah, it's good for your head because you're covering more area. But yeah, with your face, I can get that.
Yeah, it was like a, well, I got to hit so Kitty's got a great question. I think this is fair.
Oh
What
yes.
made you grow this beautiful beard?
Well, I've always just been interested. I might go back to the whole thing of music. Like I'm a kid of the '90s, early '90s, and um back we got Pantera, Dimebag Darrell. Had his red beard, and Lane Staley, Alice in Chains had that really long,
Oh
like
yeah.
that was my inspiration right there. Was like that long. I remember it having when I was in college. I started growing it, and this girl was like, "I want to do this like long like braid extension," and she made this really long. It was just like his in the gosh, what was that video?
Wasn't Man in a Box. It wasn't.
No, 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 no. The
It was
first,
the
it
one with
was
the
the first
sunglasses.
first single they released off the Wood album with the first song. Does it
Oh,
Damn the River? And so that's kind of like where I was like really kind of like introduced to like the beard. But then I also at the same time had a really good friend of mine that I worked with. His name was Steve Shalatti, and he plays drums for a really big time death metal band called Immolation. They're based out of Buffalo, New York, but they tour worldwide. They're a major label band, but anyways, we kind of grew up in towns apart from each other, and he played drums in that band. We used to play in clubs together all the time, and he used to just always have this like really long goatee, and I was like, I'm gonna grow a better goatee than you. And he's like, bring it on, bring it on. So it was always like this. He just kept growing. I tried to grow, cut it off, cut it off. I couldn't do it, but he just was persistent with it. And I don't know, like at one point it was just like a switch hit where I was just like, I was done and it just went. And like I said, I just always have chosen the goatee because I don't like the messiness of like a full beard. Like I mean, smaller. No, like your beard's beautiful.
Thank
Like
you.
because it's nice and kept, and like you take care of it. You shape it. Your color is amazing. Like
Thank you.
I would kill to have that pattern that you have. And the thing is the pattern that you have is extremely unique and very valuable
Now,
when it
that's
comes to
funny you say
scoring.
that. My wife and I were talking about it. I was like, I'm pretty lucky that like I can naturally grow a skunk.
Yeah, dude, but it's perfect. It's
It's
completely
symmetrical.
symmetrical. Yep.
Say the death metal band again.
Immolation.
Now, I just had my buddy Tom jump on. Tom, that's Cujo Holstead, is Tom.
Uh-huh.
Um, where I'm lucky I can play the radio. Um, Tom fixes me on all things music, and
Oh,
he was a drummer for a Nine Inch Nail cover band that actually made money.
oh my God, Nine Inch Nails, another Cleveland band. I love it.
Yep. So I told him to jump on because you said that emulation. I was like, well, maybe he
Immolation.
knows who that is. I don't know. The closest to death metal was the guy I mentioned, Anthony, whose dog passed away. He was in the death metal band Vorzug. He's the lead singer.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
Yeah, it's like I can't. No, now I. Oh, wait a sec. Here you go.
When the jackets come,
Is that one of their songs? I'm gonna guess.
it may be
No. Oh, it's supposed
jackets.
to be when the
Yes, when the
jackals.
jackals come. Yes, yeah. But
So
yeah, so he was always like my biggest like rival, my inspiration to like grow a beard. And like I said, at that same time too, like the music scene that I was heavily involved in was like goatee, beard, grow. And so that, I mean, that kind of started it. And, you know, I started really growing my first big goatee in about the year 2000, 2001. And I grew it for a while, trim it off. And then I went full bore starting about 2013.
now do you trim the
And I,
bottom of it, keep it
yeah,
healthy?
just a little bit, but and then I went like I stopped and it was like almost down to my belt.
Oh shit.
And but to give you perspective of what I was growing compared to what I have now,
Now, did you gain wizard powers as it got longer?
no, because I did not take care of it and I didn't know at that time I didn't know.
The bombs and the oils weren't a thing.
No, they weren't. And literally until I met Aaron, I would have not known how to like grow the proper beard to compete with. So, as I'm splitting this up here, I know it kind of looks weird.
For
Okay.
those of you that are listening to the podcast and not seeing this, so
Yeah.
right now Scott has made a under. You know how your dog might have an undercoat. His beard has an undercoat to it.
Yep.
And then and then there's two different links here. So the top one looks like what is that, about 18 to 20?
Okay, so what you're seeing here, this is pretty much what I grew. My first time I grew a beard, and it was like down to my waist, and I used to braid it every day. Just the worst thing you could possibly do. It just destroyed it, and it just
Really
kept falling out. I grew that thing for 6 years, and it was really long. And I'm like, it looks so thin. And I mean, if you look at it now, it looks, I mean, well,
right.
It's just thin and like just gnarly looking and stuff. And so I ended up cutting it off on March 1st of 2009. And this is where this has come from. So I started growing this beard March 1st of 2009 and got into I still kept growing it this exact way. And I'm like, and I did fairly well when I first started. And then once I met Aaron and started talking to him, he's like, you really need to start growing the underside of it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean the under? He's like, the undergrowth. He's like, it's going to make it look just thicker, fuller, better. And I'm like, all right. So I started growing the undergrowth. Now, as you can see, like it's so much darker.
Oh yeah.
It's not sun bleached. I work outside all year long. So this is all like new growth within the past probably like 3 or 4 years.
So that's your neck beard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like literally starts.
I mean, you can see there's two separate things there.
Yeah. This is like my, like the really the tip of my chin right here. So this is like everything from the tip of my chin to my Adam's apple. So then you add that onto it and it adds like just an extreme density and thickness. And this is, I'm giving you an exclusive right here.
Exclusive.
This brush right here is the key to having the best beard in the entire world.
Is that it's not a hot brush though, right?
No, those things are the worst things for your beard.
Okay.
I don't know what this trend that's been going on where everyone's using these heated like flattening iron brushes, but they just want to kill beards and destroy them. The wet brush, you can go to like, they sell them at Kohl's when you're checking out. They have a ton of them right at the checkout. They sell them at Target. You can get them at Walmart, wherever. If you grow a beard and you want a better beard, get a wet brush. This is the brush that changed everything for me.
See, now I use a sandalwood brush.
Yeah, you're fine. You don't have a big, thick, fat ass beard. I mean, if you had a big ass beard, you want a wet brush. What you're using is completely fine for your application.
Yeah, see, I'm in the, and now because I want to hear more about this music piece, because I heard you yesterday on your show with the gentleman talking about drumming. Yeah. And I was like, And at first I was kind of thinking like, it's just drumming. Like he plays the drums. Some people do that. That's the guy who hangs out with the band, the drummer. So I was like, okay, makes sense.
I like that. That was
Uh,
funny.
um, and then like I want to get more into it, but sidebar talking about combs. Uh, for those of you that don't know how, like in some cultures, how important beards were, Vikings were buried with their beard combs
No, I did
because
not know that.
yes, if you look into it, like beard combs were so important in that culture because your beard was a sign of
Your
fertility and
manliness.
masculinity and
Yeah.
all those things in their culture. So your beard comb was your comb. That was yours.
Yeah.
And many of them were buried with their beard combs. It was a very ornate item to have. Because I know when I was looking for mine, I was like, oh, and I just started doing the research because trying to figure out, because what I didn't want is like something that was, because I was concerned, like I said, 20 years I never shaved, or I
Yeah.
always shaved for 20 years every day. And I'm one of those guys that very similar to Lane Stanley red beard. When I first retired, I'll have to send you a picture. And I first grew my beard out, even more so when I was in the Marine Corps and I had like a long leave. It was like the rebel thing to do. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
grow my
Grow it.
beard out.
Yep.
No one's going to know because my command isn't here. And I had a friend of mine, Ed Hall,
Oh
grew
my
up with
God.
him.
I know
You know
Ed.
Ed?
No, I
No
don't,
shit.
but that's okay.
Okay.
That's funny though.
Fuck it. Well, he joined the army. It's okay.
Oh, he's an
But
army brat. Forget him.
yeah, fuck it. You know what army stands for, right? Aren't ready for Marines yet.
That's pretty good.
Um, but Ed, like super, like legit red hair, not like it's kind of
Rick
red. It's a little,
Astley red hair.
yeah, like redheaded stepchild red.
Oh, Dave Mustaine redhead. Yeah, okay. I
Yes,
get that.
I love how everything's a musician. That's even
Yep.
better. Um, but like straight up redhead, and I'll never forget his mom. I grew a
Are you
goatee
talking
out.
like straight up now tell me Paula Abdul?
So great.
Are you
Do you want
talking
it to be me and you forever though? Is
are
what I
you
really need to
talking
know.
are you talking about like Tiffany red?
Uh, Probably closer to Tiffany True Red.
I like this.
Um, but I'll never forget his mom's making that comment to me, like, "Did you dye your goatee?" Because mine used to grow in red like that. And for those of you that have only listened to the podcast, if you were to see it now, I have a pretty awesome skunk line,
It's
and then
beautiful.
it comes down it real dark along the sides. Which my wife at first was like, "I don't like it. Dye your whole beard." And I'm like, "I'm not dyeing my beard. It's just not happening." And even it's funny because we were talking about Doug. Doug was like, "I have some amazing products. We'll dye your beard."
Yeah, that's right. I remember talking to him about that.
I'm like, Doug, it's not happening. And then like I see all these other things, and I want to talk about the music, but like, have you ever done like the glitter or any of that? Like, I
No,
can't.
that's like sacrilegious when it comes to. All right, so I guess to kind of attack that specific thing is there's certain. All right, I like to look at like at least my friends that are involved in this. There's like a pro level beard grower, and then there's like the amateur beard grower. Like we compete on a worldwide level. We travel all over the country, all over the world to go to these events. So we take it seriously. Granted, it's all charity stuff, but there is a vanity thing to it, and
Sure.
there is a uh oh my god, John. Oh, I had
Look at
you,
that. Is that John? Is that your beard
dude.
in that picture?
He has one of the most amazing beards ever. He's what you call trolling right now.
Yeah. Wow. No dyeing. Let it go natural. Scott Sykora is a glittered beard fiend.
But yeah, so I mean, John's part of this whole group, but there's this whole group of there's the professional beard grower guys, and then there's the commoners or the amateurs, and the glitter people are definitely the amateurs because they don't. There's a difference between using a beard as a fashion accessory, and then there's a difference between using a beard as a, I guess I wouldn't say that we use our beards to be like superheroes. To in essence, like we use our beards to raise money for charities and this and that. I mean, I mean, I guess you could kind of pin it that way, but we don't grow our beards to be like superheroes to help people in need. But whoa, shots fired, Aaron. That is true. John, we're coming for you. But yeah, there's just this completely different dynamic of guys like us who grow their beards and compete, and then there's the I'm trying not to be rude or condescending to
Well, what I'm hearing there is there's
people.
guys that this is a thing. This is my outside when I get done doing whatever I do for a living, I go and do this and I take it very seriously and it means something to me.
Yeah.
And then there's the glitter guys who they see it more fun and frivolous and more on that side of it. So it's just a difference in how you see it.
Yeah, but it's also like the what those guys.
What do you think it would take to put glitter in Aaron's beard? Like, could we get Aaron to put glitter in his beard?
Bunch of pizza roll tacos, maybe.
Pizza? What the hell's a pizza roll taco? Did you just create something just now?
Whoa.
Did you just make something up? Pizza roll taco?
We got to back this up a little bit.
What is that?
There's a whole story behind the pizza roll taco. All right. Well, you know what a taco is, right?
Well, obviously, yes.
So, and you lay 3 pizza rolls in a taco shell.
Okay.
A little bit of sauce on top of it. Some more cheese. Melt it a little bit. And then a little bit of cilantro. And wham, bam, thank you, man. Pizza roll taco. What?
Pizza roll taco. I agree with you, John. Beard raising money for charity is a form of being a superhero. 100% will agree with that. I love it. Aaron's got us all ready for pizza roll taco, and
we could do a whole episode about pizza roll tacos. I mean, that's a completely that could be a whole nother story. That I'm already looking that and I was even joking with you. You're like, Aaron and I did a 2-hour episodes, and I'm like, well, you haven't talked to me yet. See, but I could do an hour about pizza roll tacos.
Well, see, if it's food, it's for me. Now, where are you from? I know Aaron's down in South Carolina, and you're where?
Cleveland, Ohio. Just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I was already
my right
really
shoulder.
looking
Look
at
over
that
my right
Ravens.
shoulder.
Yeah.
See that, right?
Yep. I saw that earlier, and when you were like, and I was like, well, I'm like, you were like this big on my scale, and then it was like, oh. But then I think about the Browns this year, and it was like, oh, and then it's going to be like your Ravens are like nothing compared to what we have.
Please stop. Like, do you have any idea of like, you do know who the team you're talking about, right?
Oh yeah. Of course.
I mean, I can't do it. I almost said like we could compete. Whoever has a better record,
no,
losing team shaves, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you're not gonna. No one's gonna. I
don't want to shave either.
I'm gonna say this right now. I am going to go on the record and say the Cleveland Browns Super Bowl champions 2021.
Okay, so what's the competition? 22. What's the competition between our two shows? What Cleveland or Baltimore has a better record? What's
going to be?
What's the competition?
Serious? You're gonna what
are we putting up?
Actually, throw.
What are we putting up?
All right. How about this? We're going to have you on our show and we'll discuss that at that point. So then that way we can like really figure out what it's going to be. I hear Aaron is hosting a pizza roll taco fest in Spokane Valley. That could be absolutely true.
We're getting, see, I was just actually having this conversation with Carol who popped in earlier about Cleveland. So obviously everyone knows, I had my time in the Marine Corps, and I used to tell kids in the Marine Corps this all the time. When you go to boot camp, there we go. What's up, Josh? When you go to boot camp, the most cock diesel, strongest Marine in your boot camp platoon will be from Ohio. He will like pull the bar down through the ground. He will be amazingly strong. But when he smiles, his heart will slow down because it's too much activity for the brain all at once. It's just a fact. I was just telling someone this. Like, I don't know what it is about Ohio. Whatever y'all eat out there, you eat a lot of spinach, the souls of children. I don't know what it is that makes guys that go to boot camp so strong. But I promise you, most of the Marines that I ever met from Ohio can't spell their own name.
Well, you know, I mean, they're looking for a purpose, I guess.
Oh, I'll never forget that. We had this kid, like, he was like, his arms were just monsters. There was another one. Be great if it ever made it to him. This guy named Nimini. I'll tell a Marine Corps story for a minute. This guy named Nimini. And Josh has got his Browns shirt on right now.
You like Josh?
I do. Any Marine is always good in my book. So we had this guy named Nimini. He was from Cleveland, your neck of the woods. His last name was Nimini. He was a football player that was like supposedly very good. Running joke in the Marine Corps is everyone had a scholarship for sports. Everyone was supposed to, but they wanted to be a Marine instead. It's all a lie.
It's like every guy has a big wiener.
Right. Yeah. No. But, you know, Nimini was this big monster of a guy, and he was like from Cleveland and all this other. I'll never forget this. He got on to the deck to go in for swim qual back when we actually swam outside back and then when I joined the Marine Corps. Now they have an indoor pool. And I'll never forget, this big dude jumped in the water. Scott, I promise you, as his feet hit the water, a 12-year-old girl began to scream. Because that's what it sounded like.
I was going to say, but I bet that's where this story goes.
Oh, he was a monster. And the funny part to me was I weighed 127 pounds soaking wet with rocks in my pocket when I went to boot camp and had a 400-pound mouth. And Nimini got up, was getting close, and I was like, ha, 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 you can't, blah, blah, blah. You's a bitch, you can't swim. And he looked at me and he's like, I'll whoop your ass, Murphy. And I was like, I'll jump in the water. He's like, you'll get out sooner or later. And I was like, yeah, he's right. I will. I can't keep talking this shit. He's going to beat me up. But again, that was another example of like this just cock diesel. But I'm going to make you get into this music piece.
All right. Well, but still, we're definitely going to have to go back to this. This
Absolutely.
is going to be something that's going to be a contention between our two shows, Talking Beards and your show. And we're gonna get this ironed out.
Look at the size of that Raven sticker.
To me, it looks like it says Ravens. I don't even know what a Raven is.
Again, just prove my point. Cock diesel strong and can't read.
Touche, pussycat.
Pussycat, touche. But
that was good.
So now Cleveland, yes. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Very sad. Former home of the doggone College Football Hall of Fame used to be up there till they moved it to Atlanta. Or no, I take it back. It was South Bend, Indiana.
But I went to. We do have the NFL Hall of Fame,
which is in Canton.
Yes,
right down the road. So, yep. I mean, one of my favorite chefs is up there. God, I'm going to forget his name. Smythe. He's in Cleveland.
Nope.
I have to look at Chef Simon. Simon.
Oh, Paul Simon? He's a singer.
No, not silly Paul guy. Simon. But I have gone past Scarborough, New York many times.
I don't know what that means, but
Scarborough Fair. Are you going to Scarborough Fair?
Michael Simon is who you're looking for.
No, Michael Simon, that's Atlanta, and that's doggone or Athens, Georgia. That's REM. Michael Simon.
No, Michael Simon's the big chef from Cleveland who has all the B Spot is one of his restaurants, and
very big pork guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on. Doesn't he do some TV show in the afternoon or something? The View or something?
Yes, that's a new thing he does with like it's like the rejects from The View.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody who like really wanted to be on The View, but they're not.
Summit Racing, yes, is in right in Ohio.
I just sold my Camaro last year.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. Apparently, I hear that Chevy's not selling a lot of Camaros these. Oh, Shawshank. Yes, that's another good one. So
Is it-
Shawshank would definitely dive into both the bearding and the music world for me because a few years ago we held a competition at the prison that the Shawshank Redemption was shot at, and Aaron and Natalie came up, and in fact, it's the
nice.
I want it's the 3-year anniversary because it was one of those things that popped up on Facebook this week of like, and Aaron's wife did a tribute beard to me, and
Oh,
she dressed up like me, and I gave her a microphone
I saw
and
that picture.
yeah, and I gave her a microphone and a recorder, and I sent her out, and I'm like, "All right, you go be the beard caster tonight." And she went and interviewed everyone at this event. It was so funny.
That's so great.
But yeah, so then that going into the whole music side of it, my one of my best friends who I worked for years ago, who I was in a band with, in the early 2000s, him and I went off after we were done with the music thing, and he started doing music promotions, and he hired me to like be a tour manager and blah 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 blah. So now he's graduated to booking these huge festivals, and he books this immensely like popular and very successful tour called the Incarceration Festival, which also happens to be at the Shawshank prison too. So what they do is they set up this, they have 2 stages outside of the prison, and they have like this. So this year their headliners are Slipknot, Mudvayne, and Rob Zombie.
Nice.
And during the afternoon, I mean, there's I want to say over 100 bands playing for 3 days long. But so then in the prison they have tattoo artists, so it's a tattoo convention slash music thing, and each of the tattoo guys gets to sell in the old prison and
Nice.
schedule things, and you can go in there, and then they have tattoo competitions and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's the guy that I really kind of began my music career with in my later stage of music stuff. Yeah, his like graduated into like booking these huge events and stuff like that. So, that's I've got to experience everything from starting out to like, dealing with, platinum artists and stuff like that, and working with different booking agents and stuff like that. So it's just I've I'd like to say, like, I feel like I've lived a boring life, but when I tell people the stories of the things I do, everyone's just like, "Well, you're
Yeah, that's not
fucking
boring.
ridiculous." Yeah, it's not, but to me, it's just like, I've been there, done it, and it's just been a lot of my like, it's been my surroundings for
What
so many
didn't
years.
wreck you? It doesn't seem like it wrecked you either.
I don't think it did because I started off like, as just every other kid that was in a band, and you sit in your garage and you practice every day after school with your buddies for hours and hours and hours every day for years, and you go play some shows and no one comes and see you, and you just kind of move on from that, and you jump to another band, you do the same thing, you jump to another band. It's all about leapfrogging to the next opportunity. And when I got into this band that I was in with my friend Dan, I went and saw them. I heard they needed a drummer. I had been out of music for
So
a few
what's the
years.
band? What's the band?
We were called Last August.
Okay.
But anyways, I went to go see them because I heard they were looking for a drummer. They were playing, their drummer got pissed off, walked off the stage. Like, I was just like, wow, I don't even know if I want to be a part of like such a dysfunctional kind of thing.
Right.
But I'm like, the material was really good. And so I got into the band and kind of like took charge of like, all right, the material's good. Let's just eliminate the weakest links in the whole thing. So I ended up replacing the whole band. Which I'm still not the people that were in the band at the time are not fond of me for, but
You didn't make friends from that
I
move.
did not make friends with it. But at that point I was like, I wanted to make music my career, and I knew what I needed to do to like, it's a business. It's not an art. That's the thing that just irritates me about people in music. I'm an artist, man. No, you're fucking not. You're just a guy that plays an instrument and you're in a business. You're not a fucking artist. No one's an artist.
Well,
That irritates me more than anything when it comes to like anything.
but you know what? You bring up a great point there also is my favorite one is these people that are like, I don't like your music, man. You've sold out. Hopefully it was selling out arenas, selling out concert halls, and
That's the
every
whole
other damn
purpose.
thing.
That's the purpose.
Right. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
John, if this is the name of his band, it is the greatest name of a band. Leapfrog with a Unicorn would be an amazing band name and should actually be thrash and or death metal at any point.
You can start that band.
Brandon,
what's up, buddy?
What's up, brother? He says, "Sup, Scott." My man Tom. I've totally replaced the band before around someone else, and I'm telling you, you think that I'm kidding? My man is absolutely that guy. He would like. We were sitting on the train one day, and if he was here, he would tell the story and just laugh. And what are the pads called where somebody drums on just like a pad to practice?
It's just a practice pad.
So this guy's sitting next to me, and I'm running a train, and I'm in charge of this thing, and he's like, and I'm looking over, and Tom just is laughing at me, going, "That's driving you absolutely bonkers right now." I'm like, 110%. I want to take that stick right now, snap it, and throw it in his face. It needs to go away right now. And he's just laughing at me. Ha 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 ha. Oh, and then we got Josh is on it. AA Ron, what's up? He's talking to you, Aaron. Aaron D isn't mad. He's just passionate. I missed the Fred Durst hat. Do you have a Limp Bizkit hat?
No, I wore a red baseball hat backwards one night on my show, and everyone kept calling me Fred Durst.
What the hell is Snake Jazz?
I don't know.
Tom will have to tell me what. Oh, he's talking about the guy that was like, he's like, he was so happy because we were partners. He was probably one of the best partners I ever had on a train. He knew what I needed. He knew how to like keep me. He took care of things, and I just went about my business.
Well, and that in lies of the people that I brought into my band was I brought in one of my old friends who when I first started, his name was Mark, and he was like that guy to me. He was like always my right-hand guy when I first started playing. He knew how to explain things to me. He knew every little stupid nuance to everything I did. If I didn't understand anything, he was able to totally explain it to me. And I always trusted his judgment when it came to like music. So I brought him in, and we slowly started bringing other players in. And next thing you know, we're like getting asked to like open for all these like big national openers. And so, I mean, we opened for 30 Seconds to Mars,
nice.
Trapped, bunch of other dumb shit bands. 7 Mary 3. I mean, at this point, it's like
hey, I like 7 Mary 3.
Okay. So we got asked. I mean, people were.
That was a house band. You know that, right?
Really?
I'm almost positive 7 Mary 3 was a studio band that they just kind of the money makers kind of put together.
That is absolutely true. I can vouch for that 100%.
But they still tour. Somebody told me.
That I don't know, but that was the time of like when I was like really heavy into like the music scene. Was, I knew what was going on. And we went into a studio. We recorded with some guys that were signed to Sony Records, and they manipulated our band. They like rewrote our songs for us. I mean, they like polished us like we were like Hollywood stars.
Wow.
And we recorded this 3-song demo that, I mean, could have had like the 3 biggest hit songs on the radio. But that was it. We recorded these songs. We never pressed them or sold them, but we were playing these like sold out shows and playing in front of all these people, and we weren't giving.
So what was the band?
This was the band Last August I was talking about.
Okay, that was Last August that you're talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then things kind of were just like my singer, Dan, who I was talking about earlier, he was more excited about drinking and, hooking up with the girls. And we were like, all right, this is a business. We're doing this because we like playing music. And so I ended up quitting. I joined another band. And
Metallica.
yeah, the band I joined, we were called American Rockstar. And we did really well in our area. We did a little bit tourings. No, I am not coming to Spokane. Sorry, John. I love you, but I keep getting these messages. Hey, you coming here? You coming here? And I'm like, Scott is getting ready to make a big move in his life, and traveling is not in the picture anytime in the near future. So
Coming to Albany? You moving to Albany? New York?
but another place that begins with an A that is in Texas.
Austin. I want to go so bad.
You didn't hear it from me, but my heart is in Austin.
Bro, I want to go to Austin.
Well,
like that's one of the cities I want to go to. I've never visited. I've visited a lot of cities.
Hey, hit me up next year and you have a place to stay.
Bro, like don't tap me with a good time, because like that's one of the so Austin, I want to go. You talking about food? That's the other guy that's always on the food TV channels for the brisket, and he's in the movie The Chef. I can't think of his name, but he's out there in Austin, and his brisket is supposed to be like they stand outside in lines for this guy's brisket in Texas, like lines.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm drawing a blank of his name.
If you ever get a chance,
see his face.
Yep, he wears glasses.
Yes.
I can't think of his name either. Like, there's a fat kid that lives in my soul that I love food. Like food, I'm all about it, bro. I'm so all about it. It's just I have to somebody who's at one of the 4 listeners, look up who the hell this guy is we're thinking of in Austin. It has like this amazing barbecue. I can't think of the guy's name either. Pork belly. Oh, John, because you're not actually here, but I'll tell you an interesting one. So I was talking to somebody who just moved to North Carolina and hadn't lived there before. And what's this? Hey, I'm looking for sweet beard scents, bubblegum or cotton candy. Any suggestions?
Neither of them. You're obviously not looking for the right thing.
I mean, I think, well, I have to ask my wife, what's that? She's got some kind of candy spray. I mean, she probably would absolutely
that could
hook
be
you
the
up.
worst thing you could put in your beard. That scent.
No. I mean, it's just, make you feel sweet all day. Probably put you in a good mood.
No.
Cotton candy. But yeah, like I'm all about, like, if I could do this show and just travel around and do my show and eat, that would be the greatest thing ever. Like, I would completely ditch my family. I leave my wife here with the kids, go drive around and go eat. It would just be amazing. But yeah, like, you're going to love Austin. Like, God, like, I'm assuming you've been there already.
Oh, but yeah, lots of times I've been there.
And it's such a music city.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but all right. So I've been there a ton of times, but not to watch music for beard competitions. But I've been there even more during COVID, which of course no bands were playing at that time. So
Right.
I didn't get to experience that. So yeah, I mean, it is a huge, I mean, South by Southwest is like one of the biggest music festivals in like.
Well, you used to watch Austin City Limits on TV.
No, I didn't. Why are you putting words in my mouth?
Well, okay.
You said you used to watch it. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
You've never seen Austin City Limits?
No, I don't. There's no limits for me. Okay.
Okay.
I don't watch things that put limits on you.
Austin City Limits used to be this music show that would come on, and I think it was weekly. That was that could have been my first Stevie Ray Vaughan like experience.
Never
like,
heard of him.
See, now I know you're just a fibber. It must be Fibtober.
Yeah, well, that's every day for me.
I mean, not today, John. You ain't getting me to say that shit. It was weekly, and it was so good. I'm telling you,
That's
it
Aaron
really was
talking
like,
about that's Aaron talking about his period.
it happens. You got to feel fresh.
Yeah, you do. You gotta out with the old and with the new.
That's right. That used to be my dating philosophy.
All right, so I have a couple texts out to some Austinites right now about who we're thinking about.
Somebody's got to remember it. See, this is while we're talking. So you got really like your music scene was like legit, bro. Like you weren't just, yeah, I'm kind of into music. Like you were legit heavy duty into the music scene doing that piece. What stopped it?
The music scene was completely going through a humongous change. So this was we're talking like 2005, 2006, 2007. That's like right when a lot of the Napster crap was going down. A lot of
Franklin Barbecue.
Franklin. That's it. Yep.
Took me only a moment.
That's it. But the whole music landscape was completely changing. Digital stuff was like digital downloading was like really beginning to start. Labels were completely dropping bands that they had huge deals with. The music scene was just completely falling apart. Scott, Mobfest 5, Don't Make Me Come Get You. What's the date on that, Brandon? Well, if I'm in Austin, that's not so far of a drive to go into Louisiana. Just saying you that. Which is in February, March. But yeah, so the whole music landscape was completely changing at that time. And we had done a bunch of music showcases. We'd gone to Nashville. We had played here, there, and we signed a deal with a minor label. Didn't work out. We fell at the completely wrong time of the music scene. And I was just like, at that point, I was just like, I'm done. I'm like, I'm not, I'm done carrying my drums. I'm done, whatever. So I took many years off, and then my original old singer, Dan, hit me up. He goes, hey, I'm running all these like tours. He's like, you're about one of the only guys I trust because you really kept our band in order. Do you want to work with me? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So basically what he was doing was he was booking these small little shows in cities all over the country, trying to do like these music showcases. And we were in cahoots with a bunch of like small labels and sponsors and all these different things. And they were just looking for someone to scout bands. So basically I was flying out every weekend to either East Coast I was going to Seattle, or I was going to Jacksonville, Florida, or then I would be going to somewhere else or Denver. Then I'd be flying out to like Portland, Maine. I'd be just crisscrossing the country like every week.
City, Portland, Maine.
Dude, I love that town.
That's one of those like hidden gems in the Northeast that people don't realize is up there.
It really is. And they have some of the best clam chowder ever in the world.
That is definitely a hidden gem. It's funny you would say that place.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was traveling all across the country, just basically scouting bands. And I did that for years, and was just
weirdest city you had to go to.
Oh God.
And you just found like a gem of a band where you're like, what are you doing here?
Dude, there were no good bands. I hate to say it. For all the years I did it, I could probably count, and literally for the thousands and thousands of bands that I watched, about that many were at least really good. So, and it happened to be, and I can even tell you the story. It was my first weekend out, and it was in Portland, Oregon. And it was probably it was the most horrific experiences of my life because I'd never run one of these shows before. It turned into a huge mess, but I saw one of the best bands that I think I've ever heard or seen. They were called Only Zool, and they were just the lead singer, his parents were classically trained opera singers, and he would just really just beefy African American guy. He was just huge up there, muscular, just a real heavy metal band. They were just like crazy and shit. And he's like belting opera over the top of it. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy, but yet it so works so perfectly.
Makes
And
sense.
they gave me their CD and I popped it in and I was like, holy crap. I'm like, just the way it was recorded, it was beautiful. It was just the most. Not only were they a good live band, but they also had a good product. And like, this was my band. I'm like, oh my God, my first night out, I'm like, I meet these guys and I'm like, holy crap. And then I'm like, every night for the next 2 years, I'm expecting to find a band like this. And it was just
Nothing.
garbage night after night after night. And yeah, so it was a lot of, and then I did a month-long tour where I took 3 bands out and we toured. We started in Cleveland, went up to Buffalo and to New York City, all down the East Coast, went all the way over into Texas. We did like 2 weeks in Texas, then up into St. Louis, worked around through the middle of the country, and then I went home. And that was a super fun experience because that was my first time like on the road and traveling. But being a tour manager, like, it's super stressful. Like, it's just a lot of stress. But what I did learn though was, holy shit, the money you make being on the business side of music as
Totally
compared to the
different.
playing side, I was like, why the fuck was I wasting all these years playing music when I could have been making bank being on the backside of it? Like, and to this day, and I have a lot of friends of mine that have gone off and done like amazing things, played for some super great bands, toured the world, done some super awesome things. But when it comes to music, and as ridiculous as it sounds, if you want to be successful, it's not about how hard you work. It's all about who you know. And that is
I would believe that.
that is the absolute truth. So in anything, and I hate to say it, it's, and in a manipulative kind of way, it's like, if you meet someone that you know that you can get something from, become friends with them, especially if you're in the, oh, Beard Laws is here. But and especially in the music scene, if you can find someone that you can gain ground with, that's the only way you're ever going to be successful. And that, hence why I go back to that whole thing. I'm an artist, man. No, you're a loser. You're not going to do anything. You're
Dude, I'm
not
just
an
here
artist.
for the art.
Yeah, no, you're not.
So my son said, that's my oldest son right there, Sean Clock. He says Soggy Bottom Boys tonight, which is one of my favorite movie. You ever seen that movie? Oh brother,
Oh,
brother,
yes.
where art thou? The
Yes.
Soggy Bottom Boys. You really like. I think Brandon has a little bit of a crush. I mean, I'm going to say that a little bit.
Well, I mean, Brandon's
And why
done a
wouldn't
bunch
he?
of he's done a bunch of our online beard competitions, and we've
Nice.
corresponded together with different events and stuff like that. But I greatly, so wait, Brandon, you're here. Why are you not watching your boys on tonight on the Mob Show on Wednesday
Don't worry
night?
about your mob show shit. You're here at the bar
Yeah,
because
that's
he
right.
wanted to be
Well,
at the bar tonight.
I like this, and
He wanted to
usually,
belly up to the bar.
and just to say too, like, I've learned my lesson with drinking and podcasting. Like, I've completely stopped, but I was like, oh my God, above the bar. I'm like, I have to indulge when I'm with you. So
And I appreciate that. Beard Laws, what's up, brother? Tom says that's everything in life. We'll catch up here a little bit. Natalie is such a sweetheart. Nat, what's up? Got a little bit of everybody's talking here. So, like, brother, I love, and there it is. I like to belly up to the bar, brother. Everyone needs to belly up to the bar at some point. It's just, you really have a pretty awesome story, brother. And it's funny you talk about the money side. I got to tell you this story. If any of my buddies from high school are around and listening, they'll vouch for this. So we had a high school typing teacher. It's the only reason I know how to type right now. Best class I ever took in high school was typing. Went to a real unique high school in Baltimore that actually you had to maintain a 92% attendance rating and a C average to apply to a public school. If you miss 3 days and a quarter unexcused, you failed for the year. If you miss 5 days excused and a quarter, you failed for the year. Because the idea was you had to go. They were training us to be in the workforce.
Yeah. And when you were going to school, it was a different time than it is now.
Yes. Well, that school's still that way now.
Shit, I wish every school was like that.
It's pretty unique. Now you still have to apply for it. I have some friends back home in Baltimore whose kids, it's like a big deal if their kids get in there because they're considered as legacy students.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
they get a little bit of a leg up to get into it. But it's for a public school, it's a prestigious public school. But we had a teacher named Mr. Burns, Jay Burns. If he's alive, if somebody can get this podcast to him, I have Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma Films coming on.
Toxic Avenger.
You got it. July 28th. Lloyd Kaufman's going to be on here. And I bump Lloyd Kaufman, and God, please nobody tell him I said that, for Mr. Burns from high school. Only because Mr. Burns used to tell the story. He was from upstate New York. He went to Woodstock in penny loafers. And that was one of his things. He's like, I didn't understand them dirty hippies one bit. I went to go see what the deal was, and I lived up the street. And he used to always tell the story. You'll love this. So he used to tell the story that he came to Baltimore with a trailer, a couple $1,000s in his pocket, and made his way as an accountant. And going back to music for a moment, he got into the music promoting business. Prince was an opening act for him.
Ooh.
Right? So Prince was an opening act, and he used to tell us stories about artists, like, and a lot of times he would never tell us who they were. So like he had like one artist, he's like, I had to get this woman dressed. She was completely naked, wouldn't go out on stage.
Mariah Carey.
No, this is like, you got to remember, this is 70s and 80s. Like, this is Prince as an opening act.
Oh, Mariah Carey.
It could have been Mariah Carey. She just had a kid. You know that?
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I don't like Mariah Carey.
Okay.
Why do you keep saying that? Whitney Houston. That's who we're talking about.
Could have been. But he was like, this artist wouldn't go out on stage because she thought everybody had cameras, and that was in her rider that they couldn't have cameras.
Oh, that sounds like Beyonce.
And I don't even know if Beyonce was born at this point.
No, she wasn't, but she's the same exact way.
Yeah, is she that way?
Yeah, like she doesn't like people like taking pictures, and because she doesn't want to look unflattering.
Oh, shut up. Oh God. But so he said that like he used to I remember him telling the story. He's like, I lied to the artist and was like, no, we got all the cameras. He said the minute that woman hit the stage, every camera's, and he was like, oh well, do your music. But he was interesting because kind of to your point of the money side of it, he said, I used to negotiate with these people, and he was stone cold sober. Like, I mean, Scott, you drinking a beer is more than this guy would do. And he was a stone cold sober guy. And he said, I used to love it. I would go to negotiations with these people, and they would be high or they'd be drunk. And he goes, I would just take their money.
Yep.
He's like, I would take their money. And probably one of his best stories. Do you remember satin tour jackets?
Sounds familiar.
Like the real smooth jacket, like made of satin material, like real shiny jackets.
Yeah.
And it would have like the band name on the back of it.
Yeah.
So he used to tell us every year, he would tell this story, and he would say, I always traveled with huggers with heaters. Now this will tell you pre 9/11. A fucking bug in my face. Back off, bug. And he said he used to always travel with, he called them huggers with heaters. So these were like just big, monstrously sized humans that carried guns and could carry a gun on an airplane as just like an average everyday citizen, you know. So he always used to tell a story that he was in an airport one day and he had his jacket on and he always carried a lot of money on him because of the business he was in. And he had a tour jacket on. He said he walked into the bathroom and started to do his business, went to walk out, and two guys were standing there and were like, one of these typical give me your money, give me your jacket kind of situations. And he said he waited a moment. He told him, I'm not giving you anything. And they were like, one of them pulled a knife or something like that. And he said, right about that time, the door opened to the bathroom and his two huggers with heaters walked in the door.
Was one of them named Crocodile Dundee and says,
could have
you
been.
Can't bring a knife to a gunfight.
That's not a knife.
Yes.
I said, that's not a knife. This is a knife. No. But yeah, he said, I'll never forget that. He was like, those guys walked in the door and he said, gave him whatever. He was such a smart ass. He gave whatever line it was and he walked out the door. He goes, I don't know what happened to him. He goes, I still kept my jacket and my money in my pocket. And I figured you would appreciate that as like a guy who was in that business doing that stuff. I mean, that's a shady ass business.
No, I will talk. There was one specific set of shows that I did.
Feel better, Brandon.
And we always would have to pay expenses at the end of the night, but I got to the venue and the club owner was like, nope, I want it right now. And I'm like, listen, dude, I don't have the money on me now because I would always keep my money back in the hotel room. And he's like, no, he's like, if you're going to do these shows, I'm like, you're going to pay me now. And he like literally opens his drawer and there's a gun in there. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm like, all right, I'll drive back to the hotel and I will get the money you want and I will pay you. And so I went and did that. And the guy was still a freaking asshole to me like most of the night. And then towards the end of the night, I went into his office. I said, hey, listen, I said, I want to apologize for any miscommunications and whatever. I'm like, your people were talking to my people. I'm like, I don't have anything to do with that. I'm like the mailman. It's like you pulling a gun on a mailman for bringing you a
bad
bill.
letter. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not the guy you need to be pissed at. I said, but I want to make things good. I want to make our situation comfortable. So I'm like, I bought him a shot and I bought all the bands rounds of drinks that night because I felt bad because I was just like, I got put into a horrible situation and I didn't know how to handle it. But those are the situations that I was like constantly thrown in that I really feel have helped me in my entire life, my relationships, my work life, my podcasting life, all this stuff that have really helped me get out of my shell of like being like real, like closed up. And it's like, I realized after that, it was like, you really need to put yourself into these horrible, messy situations if you want to excel or grow as a human and like be something, like grow and like be important. If you want to follow your dreams, you're going to have to put yourself in these crappy situations and suffer at times to like grow and learn and like excel. So, I mean, that's what I definitely learned from that whole experience.
Aaron wants to know why you apologized if someone pulled a gun on you. Did he pull the gun or did he just show the gun?
He showed the gun. And this was like, in your neck of the woods too. It was in Charleston.
Fun city, Charleston. I enjoyed Charleston.
That was not a fun couple days there.
Have you ever been to Charleston? So you've been to Charleston. Did you see all the porches, all the decks that are faced in one angle?
When I was in Charleston, I basically viewed the aircraft carrier from my hotel the whole time. I was there for a couple days, went toward the aircraft carrier, and then my show was on the opposite side of the bridge. And that was like, I was there for like 3 days and like I lived in the hotel because it was like every day we were going. And it was like, that was my first run after I think 15 days going straight where I had a day off and it was like all I just wanted to do was sleep. I didn't go check anything out.
So if you ever in Charleston, you'll notice that everybody on the main street, all the porches or the decks off the bedrooms are all in an angle because it's so hot there and they didn't have air conditioning that they could put their beds on their porch and not see each other.
Oh, that's very well. You learn something new every day listening to the Above the Bar podcast.
It's the wealth of worthless knowledge that I have. But I can't ever win trivia.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what you need to start doing. The wealth of worthless knowledge you have. Maybe that's a good name for a podcast.
That would be a good podcast.
I mean, because everyone has like a wealth of like worthless knowledge. Like I remember shirts that I wore when I was in elementary school, but I can't remember books I read or any of that. I can't remember the stuff that was important.
Oh, I just showed my wife something the other. Talk about elementary school.
Your penis?
It's not gotten much bigger, but my wife and I were talking. Do you remember the popsicles from elementary school that had the characters on them? Dude, you have to like. It was like a lone orange or some shit like that. They had like because everything we had when we were kids had characters. You got to remember these. They were popsicles.
I was all about Flintstone push-ups at that point.
What is it? I'm seeing. This is the great thing about how did we ever survive without the internet and Google as an adjective?
Let's take that back one step. Like how we grew up was pretty freaking awesome.
I'm so glad that how we grew up, there's no evidence.
But it's not the evidence part, but think about like, I mean, you have kids.
Oh yeah.
And
way too many.
And I mean, how old's your oldest one?
The eldest for me and my eldest is going to be is 24. No, 96. So 25.
Wow. Now you have a 96-year-old. That's crazy.
96 years old.
Wow.
I can't find these stupid popsicles. My wife and I just saw a picture of them the other day. But my wife and I, the oldest will be 28 this year, I think. I think he'll be 28 this year.
But still, even 28 and going through him when he was growing up. I mean, still, you know, we grew up in an age of like no internet. We had TV. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, I mean, we lived such a secluded life. And I'm so still grateful for that. Like, especially now I have a son that's 15 years old who's going through the whole, you know, growing up, being a terrible 15.
Tell me you remember those.
No.
You don't remember those? They were Little Orphan Orange, Sir Isaac Lime, Poncho Punch. These were so great. I remember these.
Apparently we weren't as rich as your family.
That's right. We had the characters on our shit.
we just had the plain old popsicle stick.
I just had soda poured into a cup and then we put a stick in it. But you're right. Like, look, you know, going into kids and all that, I agree completely. I'm so glad none of the shit we did as kids was recorded because
I didn't do anything that was
incriminating. No. Oh God. I definitely
other than you like the Ravens and
hey. Do you know what the worst part of it is? As a kid growing up, I was actually a Steelers fan.
Oh shit.
But
all right, well, Sean, it was really nice talking to you tonight.
Great talking to you tonight. You have a great rest of your evening. But that's because of my cousin, such as, you know, growing up in a city. This is it when you know you grew up in a city. My cousin Bumper.
No, I don't know him, but thanks for
you know, but that's such a typical like growing up, you have cousins named like with like weird nicknames that nobody else understands but you guys. But my cousin Bumper is a big Steelers fan. Grew up in Baltimore with us. But he grew up as a Steelers fan because 83, the Colts left. So if you wanted to root for football, I'd be damned if I was going to root for the Deadskins. That wasn't happening. Yeah, that wasn't happening. And, you know, so here's like, God, we could just talk especially because you're from
Dude,
Cleveland.
I honestly like we may need to do like a part 2 and a part 3 of this because I have so many like little weird facets of life I could go in different directions of.
Because
And
I was just thinking,
I know that you've asked a lot of, and I was feeling this towards the beginning, like you've asked a lot of questions or you've asked some questions, and I feel like we haven't like tied them up. Like we got
make
to
a lot of
like
laughs.
start talking about them, and then it led into something else, and then we start talking about it. We couldn't tie that up, and like let it. And dude, I get it. Dude, I mean, I do the same thing you do. You interview different people all the time, and it's like this is what I miss about like doing a free form like interview style podcast, like what you do. I now like have to like condense my stuff down to 15 minutes, and I have like my 5 questions I ask them, and that's it. Like
Done.
blah blah blah, and that's it. May ask a few other things, but like back in the day when I was interviewing people, it was like a free form, like, hey, I'm gonna go off of here, and the next thing you know, it's like you say, it's an hour and a half right now, and and I still feel like we haven't really touched on really anything, but yet there's still so many more things that we could completely talk about.
Absolutely, because obviously you're a Browns fan, and I always like to ask the question of anyone who's a Browns fan: did Baltimore take the Browns? And I always like this. I'm always curious of the answer because it tells me how well of an educated fan you are.
All right, so I will preface this by saying, in my business, I've worked for owners of the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
So I kind of know
the Models.
Yeah, I worked for the Models.
Okay.
And know a lot of upper echelon people in the Cleveland Browns thing that dealt with a lot of that. So, but I know that with the Cleveland Browns just picking up and moving, that was an Art Modell business move, not so much he was going for where the money was at. So it's not, I don't say it being like Baltimore taking the Browns, as more so like our people kind of relocating them because they were being opportunistic.
Okay. Yeah, that could be the best answer I've ever gotten.
I mean, I'm trying to be extremely diplomatic because I know a lot more than I'm allowed to lead on.
Right, which is but that's an interesting take, because normally I just get you guys stole the Browns, and I'm like,
no, it's not. That's not how it is. That's just,
I'm like, not a single
works.
record left the town. Not the name didn't leave the town. Nothing left that town.
They left with
the franchise tag left.
All right. The team left, like the actual physical team,
right,
relocated to Baltimore. So the players that were on the Browns moved to Baltimore. They played for the Ravens.
Right.
So, I mean, that was it. I mean, it was not the Browns. I mean, they used to be formerly known as the Browns, different coach, all that shit. I mean, it was a different thing. So it's, and thankfully we did get back what we did. And it has been tremendously rough years for us, but thankfully within the past 3-4 years, it's been a complete different change.
You guys are, I will tell anyone, and we've got Beanie Anderson, former Baltimore Raven, coming on here in a few weeks. We're going to do a pre-NFL show with Beanie Anderson, and then we're going to do what it's like to be an NFL player show later on.
That's a really cool idea.
Just what it's like. I'm really curious. I have a cousin whose oldest boy plays for the Buffalo Bills. Currently, he was the first overall pick for the Redskins years ago, and now he plays for the Buffalo Bills. And I just find it very interesting talking to NFL players because a lot of us forget they're union. They're union players. They have a union. They are, we all like to talk smack about unionized labor, but I'm going to tell you right now, those are your favorite sports that you watch, folks. Guess what? They're all unionized labor.
Except golf. I don't even know. I'm just.
I don't know. That would be a great question.
I mean, they're individuals. Golf is an individual sport, so
it could be. Well, my dad's best friend growing up, Mr. Frank, who I called him Pop Frank. He was probably
God, Braggy McBraggerson. Where are we going with this one?
This is actually a great story. Let me tell you a story. Bitches.
Oh my God, now my hands are up in the air.
Well, bless your heart. Mr. Frank's aunt, who I think she was close to 100 when she passed. She was an original LPGA player.
Ooh.
And she was so like, Scott, you remember when we were kids, you always heard this lines like, you never ask a lady her age.
Yeah. Yeah. Or her weight.
Yes. Oh, these are no-nos.
I love that question, though. I love asking women their weight.
Well, you are a very brave man. I'll never forget the story as I was a kid of she went to the bank, legitimately went to the bank and went to pull money out. And some young girl was like, well, ma'am, I just need your driver's license to verify your age. And she looked at her and told her, you don't ask a lady her age. This is who I am. This is my information. And the girl pressed the issue. She then told the girl to go get her bank manager. And the bank manager's like, how can I help you? And she told him, give me all my money. And they were a very well-off family.
I can take it to a different bank. I want business at a different bank.
And she made it clear. They were so great. But like, I always loved Pop Frank. Like, Mr. Frank was my dad's best friend. His dad, like, did you ever have an experience like when you were a kid where you're like, this person, I guess it was just common to you. It didn't mean anything to you because it was how things were around the house. And then you talk to other people and they're like, you did what? You experienced what? Did you ever have something like that in your life?
Probably. I mean, yeah, with my grandparents, definitely like the, hanging snakes from a clothesline. Like, well, you don't normally do that, but grandma did that.
like that was grandma's thing. Like,
that was, yeah.
Like, I'm trying to some bitch out.
Yep.
So I grew up with Mr. Frank's dad, Pop Frank. Pop Frank passed away at 105 years old, and he was a World War I vet.
Wow.
So I grew up with this guy, seeing him every holiday, talking to him, and to the day he passed, he had every bit of his facets.
That's impressive.
The coolest thing, though, was when we were kids, we would show him this picture of his platoon from World War I, and he actually got a medal from the French government for being part of the liberation forces during World War I of France.
The Forces de Liberation.
But what was so great about him was he would always ask me questions about the Marine Corps. Hey, how's things going? How's it been? And I would tell him, and we had this picture. And I remember one time looking at him and go, Pop, who are you in this picture? And he was like, Sean, do you know how long ago that was? Pick one. I'll be that guy. That was his response. He's like, we all look alike. He's like, pick one. I'll be that guy. I was like, you got it, Pop. He was the greatest. And all of them had their teeth till the end.
Wow.
Like, I would watch these people sit down and buzzsaw through corn like nothing you've ever seen in your life. Like, but it was a Baltimore thing. Like, I loved growing up in Baltimore. It was great. Now, you grew up in Cleveland. I grew up in Baltimore.
Yep.
I had good sports. You had the Indians.
Wow.
Where'd Scott go? Scott just dropped out on us, folks. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back. Scott, come back, please. Scott, please come back. We just lost Scott. I don't. All right.
Okay. So the reason why I did that was because I'm so all right. So I'm so used to being on your side of StreamYard where I can like go in and out and just manipulate all of it. And
Oh,
I was like, I'm just gonna hit leave studio. I could just pop back in, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, this isn't my feed. I can't just do that. So yeah, no, I mean the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, you guys had that Cal Ripken guy who played a lot of baseball.
yeah, a little bit.
I mean,
Little bit.
hey, we were kind of good in the mid 90s, and
Well, I mean, I can't say anything bad. Like there was a time when we were definitely rivals. That was a definite thing. What are we going for a Cleveland Browns hat? Oh, Cleveland
no.
Indians. Now, what do you feel about? Do we want to get into that like mascots
Yes,
thing? Do we want to do
because
that? Do we want to do that?
you and I was actually going to bring this up because you had said a few minutes ago,
I don't.
uh,
Do we want to get into that?
you were talking about the
Deadskins.
the Redskins and
See, but that's a now, folks. Please don't take that as offensive. That's a Baltimore. When you're 45 minutes from a team that's in the other league that you've competed with, and you watch them get Super Bowls, while your city couldn't get anything.
but yeah, I get what you're saying, but there's so many like young people that are so like just woke and just so offended
that term,
because
woke.
I
that.
hate it too. Like that's ruining the
I like
country.
aware. I like the term aware.
Yeah, yes, but what are they aware of? They're aware of what's their little bubble. Like,
But you know what, Scott? I always think about. Did you ever watch West Side Story? The original West Side Story.
no,
There's a rape scene in that.
I don't know where
Like,
you're going with this, but
what I'm saying is
listening.
like we white. It was a lot of it was like just washed over. And I think when I say aware, we're just. I think I like aware better than woke because woke just makes you sound silly.
Yeah, hey,
But
I mean, it's
aware of what things are and aware of situations and aware of policies and aware of things. If we want to go down that road, but I like the term aware. Like I think the University of Florida or not University of Florida Seminoles. What's Florida State?
Florida State Seminole. Yeah.
I think Florida State Seminoles does it the best because they tried to be like, oh, you guys got it, blah blah blah, and they were like, stop. We show complete respect to the nation that was down here, how we do business, and we let you know. And they were like, don't start with us. I think like for that situation, they approach it the best.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at their logo too, their logo's very like
Powerful.
Respectable to the Native Americans, of course. Like there's, I mean, I can get like, I get that Chief Wahoo is a cartoon depiction that could be taken as
derogatory.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not what we grew up with. That's not how it was presented to us when we were kids. And now all of a sudden, like the world wants to rip away everything that we had when we were kids and what we knew and believed in, and that was okay. And it's just for us, it wasn't even like a racist thing for just to kind of throw that out there. It was just, hey, it's my baseball team. It's like their logo. It's like that's all it is. It's like
we didn't know any better as kids either.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
We didn't know any better as kids. We just saw it as a thing.
Yeah, that's like, oh, that's my baseball team.
Right. We just saw it as kids. But that also you can get into that with it's funny, Tom made the comment about backhanded compliments all night. You know, Tom and I've talked about this. It's like the statue. God, I didn't want to even get into this. We'll get into this. The statue thing.
We can book a second episode.
We could book into this because the statue thing is one of the ones that I laugh at people about.
But the ones, all the statues getting torn down.
Right. And then I tell people, I'm like, do you know when those statues went up? Because somehow we all think that those statues have been up for 200 years. And I'm like, do you know when those statues went up?
198 years ago.
Yeah, it was 198. Yeah, bastards. I'm like, that statue went up in the 50s, fat pal. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. Do you know who that guy is? but he's important to American history. I'm like, please take a moment and go look into this person. I did a whole podcast on the names of bases.
First base, second base, third base.
Well,
like, how on earth did they get their names?
How did they get their ladies and gentlemen? How did those bases get their names? Let's take a moment and take a step back and take a look at how this all worked. And look, I knew Tom was going to jump in. This is his thing during the civil rights movement. Yes, Tom, I got this. I'm on it. But the base names, a lot of bases were named for Civil War.
Now you're talking about military bases,
military installations.
Okay, I just wanted to make it sure so everyone understood.
The worst one of them all, naming wise, would be Fort Bragg in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Nicknamed as Fayetteville. But if you ever get a chance to look up who that's named after, you would just be like, oh my God, this was not a good human being. And that was one of the few that was actually named prior to all the civil rights movement stuff. I always have said the Marine Corps got it right. The Marine Corps figures out things real easy. We don't want to bother with no one. We don't want to offend anyone. We're just going to do our thing. So if you look at Marine Corps bases, it's Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. Well, he was a World War II general.
He was a really fun bear too that used to like read books and stuff with his big hat.
Paddington.
Sorry.
Paddington.
My bad.
Marmalade.
Sorry. I like to do drawings.
And then you hello, my name is Simon and I like to do drawings. I knew exactly where you were going with that. And then you had, Camp Lejeune, General John A. Lejeune. But most of our bases, like Quantico, Virginia, we just name it after the city. All them things should just be named after cities. And look at my son. He's such a smart ass. Yes, son. Fayetteville is offensive to all good citizens of Fayetteville. You've never even been there. Like, don't listen to my child. I raised him.
I'm not listening to that guy.
That's my son. Whatever. Don't even listen to him. But yes, that's something. I did a whole show on that because that was actually back last year. That was a big question of, some of these base names and where they come from and why are we naming. And my whole thing was this. You would never name something after like someone you whooped their ass.
Be like Camp Hitler.
Right. Exactly. like, oh, look at the base we have over here in Germany. We named this Camp SS. Like, you would never do this. Where on God's green earth does it come up that we're like, whoop this dude's ass? As a consolation prize, you get a base named after you.
All right. So how did we go from?
I don't know. You brought it up.
No, I know, but I mean, we were talking about like the derogatoriness of like
sports
teams. Like the Cleveland Indians and.
Well, who else is there? Cleveland Indians, the.
Okay.
Washington Well, they're not even Redskins anymore. They're the Washington football team.
But okay, now let's dive into hockey. I mean, you're Canadian virtually, but the Chicago Blackhawks.
I'm from Baltimore.
But you're almost Canadian, just like I am. I mean, like 70 miles from.
You're
Canada.
way closer than I am.
I know I am, but you got like the hockey teams, like the Blackhawks. I mean,
but
why is that logo okay? Why are they not going after that team?
Because I think it's the way it's presented. They present that in a way, just like the Florida Seminoles.
Yes. Okay. I can totally see that. Like, I'm not trying to stick up for
no.
Like, I'm trying to like reason out the whole thing. Once again, I can totally get why.
Right. Chief Wahoo can be considered as offensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cartoon depiction of a Native American. But as I was growing up, this is always what it's been. This was always what I was presented. It was never like a derogatory image to me. That was my baseball team.
Because I think sometimes we just weren't made aware that somebody could find it in any other way.
But why is it now all of a sudden everyone's offended?
We're aware.
Everything.
We're aware.
You're woke.
We're aware. Fuck woke. Aware. I hate that woke term. Are you drinking a White Claw?
All day, every day. A Ruby.
Oh my God. Ruby. Now, when you get done with this show, will you sit down to pee?
And I do. I'm sitting down right now and I feel like I gotta pee.
I mean, but God, are you trying to break Aaron's record? Is what we need to know right now, because Aaron does have the longest show. I think.
No, I will tap out at this point because I know I will get a show number 2 as opposed to him.
Absolutely,
He has nothing to absolutely offer for a show 2.
Well, we'll have to figure out a time, and I'll come on to Talking Beards on a Tuesday.
Oh yeah, this will happen
at 7 or 8.
It's same as you.
So Tuesdays at 8.
Tuesdays at 8
is Talking Beards, and then you guys have like a ton of shows on the network.
Yeah, well, all right. So we're kind of
Does
like
Natalie have a show?
No. So we're kind of fiddling our way through that at this point. Like we at one point had 6 different shows going on our Facebook page. Each we had a show every night. Not that I was on them, all of them, or Aaron was, but I was doing Monday nights doing a craft whisker show, which for those of you who might not know what that is, pardon me, I'm burping my White Claw. But so as we were discussing earlier about like beard competitions and, you know, bringing your wife or girlfriend, they all started wanting to get involved. So they started making these really elaborate, like craft beards. They were making them out of like all different sorts of things. And
which I think is neat.
Or they would take like human hair and they would try to make realistic beards. And so this kind of turned into a thing called the Whiskerina category. So now there's at all these competitions, there's multiple Whiskerina categories where there's all these girls either taking their own hair, and like my girlfriend, she takes her hair and she makes beards out of them.
Like the hair from her head?
Yeah. Like her hair is really long, so they can bring them around and like braid them and make them look like beards and stuff. Or you have the like what Natalie does, the realistic, where they actually like go to like wig shops, they buy hair, and they like actually they have like a mannequin head where they like glue them on and build them and make them, and
that's so cool.
And they transfer them onto them, and you know, or the craft, which is like making them out of like straws and streamers and blah 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 or whatever. So we do a show on Monday night called the Craft Whisker Show, and we put 2 people head to head against each other. And we give them 1 hour. We send them a box of stuff to make a beard out of, and we give them 1 hour to make it and try to do a fun show out of that. And then Tuesday nights is our show. And then throughout the week we had other shows, but we were noticing that we had so many shows going on Facebook every night that the numbers were just dropping on everything. And it was just, it was too much traffic to everyone's page. Everyone that was subscribed to it was like, we just keep getting way too many alerts. You have a show every, and they just, you know, so we decided to network ourselves into YouTube. So now what we're doing is, you know, we're doing our show every Tuesday night, but if you want to watch all of the different shows, all the beard related shows that are going on every night, Franklin's. See, it took Brian forever to get back to that. Franklin's barbecue.
Thanks, Brian. We really freaking appreciate you.
But
I figured that out an hour ago.
But yeah, so if you go over to the Talking Beards YouTube page, like we have a series of shows. So every night of the week, you can almost watch a different show that's somehow some sort of way related to the beard community and related to competitions and all these different things that are going on in the world of beards. So yeah,
in Beardom.
In Beardom, yeah.
That was even better. Like I said Beardom and then I heard tapping. That was great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's let's just end it here and then we could be like, oh, you know what? We're literally like, you know,
one person's watching still right now. We're coming up on 2 hours.
That's all right.
Alrighty, folks. So hopefully if you stuck with us this entire 2 hours, or you sat down in your car and you're listening to this on the day after and you're checking out the 2 hours, I know we made a lot of left turns, so many circles in this whole thing. We look like we're cutting donuts in the middle of the road, But if you enjoyed this, please, especially for all my beard fans that jumped on for the first time, please go on to Facebook, Apple, any of those type of things. Give us a like, a 5-star, whatever the review is. Get this thing pushing up forward. This is actually almost we just had our 1-year anniversary, so we appreciate all of you checking us out.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah, we're just hit a year. Thank my bride for that. She was the one that is my best supporting asset. She pushed me forward and was like, you want to do this, just go do it. If you enjoy us, make sure you support us on Instagram. We are at Above the Bar. Our Twitter is at Above the Bar 4. Our email, if you have any questions, if you've got that sticker for Sticker and a Cause, email us at the Above the Bar podcast at gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We're on all your major social media networks. Make sure you, again, like, subscribe, do all those kind of things. Push the love, push the support. Don't look. I'm going to tell you again, just as a reminder, because I know you had two Bud Lights and a White Claw.
I have to pee really bad.
Okay, so you could pee, but don't log off. We have a little bit after. Oh, he's going to go pee right now. We got to wait for Aaron. Aaron. God, I almost said Aaron. Scott. We got to wait for Scott to come back, because he already logged off of us once, and now he's going to go pee. Wonder if he understands that shaking it more than 3 times is playing with it. That's a whole nother thing. He actually has a pretty neat background. I wish I could zoom in on it. We've got Beard Brothers, which is pretty cool. It looks like he's got a hat with a fake beard, which is interesting. And then looks like there's a picture of him and Aaron in the background right now. I know you're Aaron. I almost considered like having you jump on just to surprise him, because I thought it would have been funny, but I didn't want you to take his thunder from him. What else has he got in the background? Is that other people's beards that he's chopped off and he now has hanging on the back wall?
Did you see it right there?
What is that? Other people's beards you've chopped off?
Oh no, here's mine.
Wait, is that what that is? Like, I thought that was other beards back there.
All right. So this is my original beard that I grew. So this one.
That's impressive.
This was the beard that I did
College
not
beard?
take care of.
Yeah, I can tell you're super busy, Aaron.
And this is what I would do with it every day, hence why it did not survive. So you can see I used to tightly braid this sucker.
Yeah, that's a serious braid right there.
Yeah. So I think this is close to almost 20 inches.
That's what she said.
But it is.
I have to ask Aaron one day, because Aaron, I have to figure out where he works at. Do they call it second shift or do they call it B shift?
Oh, Aaron works for SpaceX. He launches. He sends spaceships into outer space.
Well, that's a whole thing, though. Like, that's all. God, I'm trying to end this thing.
That's not true.
But like, do they call it B shift or they call it second shift? In Rochester, New York, which always throws me off, they refer to second shift as B shift.
He's a third shifter.
And third shift they would call C shift, which is so odd to me, because say night shift is the right shift for the life shift. Oh, shift in life. Ladies and gentlemen, get your money together, because we're coming up on night shift right here. We're going to go ahead and get yourself together. We're going to get up on the stage right now. We've got ready for us is Aaron D. Johnson.
Let's get Aaron on the stage.
God, this show will never end.
I apologize. I mean, I had to pee really bad. So hopefully I was the first person that ever had to leave the show.
I think you might be the first person to ever leave the show and be like, hold on, man. I got to go tinkle. It's tinkle time.
Tinkle time. We need to get a little jingle for that one.
Well,
I like this. We have days and nights. All right. Pardon my French, but who the heck does not have days and nights?
Right. That's like a calendar, bro.
Wow.
Like clocks have days and nights. Like,
such a fucking moron.
Come on. God, Aaron. God.
Well, you're talking like you're in the Navy.
Who, me?
No, Aaron is.
Aaron. Okay. We'll have to see, we can get into stuff, because I'm curious of what you use to if you use any what sidebar equipment you use the podcast out of and to use Zoom audio or any of those things?
StreamYard, all of it. That's
Well,
it.
so you use StreamYard. I love
Yeah.
StreamYard.
That is the best thing ever invented.
Like, what about Zoom audio? Do you use any equipment?
Mm,
I can't even pick mine up because I got so much. Who's that?
H6.
That's Zoom.
The Zoom
That's a Zoom H6. Yeah.
Yep.
My wife and I were just talking about this. I asked for an H1 for my birthday.
Yeah, you don't want one of those.
Why?
You're going to need more than an H1. You're going to graduate.
But see, you know why I want the H1 is I'm going to NYCC and I put in for press passes.
Yeah, but
to do interviews.
Okay, you need a
microphone. I have a
P4. All right. But you want to get yourself all right. So my suggestion to you is invest in a SM58, which is I'm gonna grab one.
Folks, you can go ahead and tune out because now we're going to get into geeking out for a minute. We're going to geek for a little minute.
We're going to geek. Okay. Oops, wrong mic. Okay. SM58.
Okay.
Sure.
Lollipop mic.
This is like the work hog. This is what you would find at any concert club. Every singer in the world sings on one of these live. $100.
Okay.
But it is XLR.
I love XLR. So you see this over here?
Yes.
And you know what that is?
That is a microphone.
That's a Blue Yeti.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. It's a Blue Yeti. It's only USB. But
you know what this is?
No.
This is a Audio Technica AT 2020.
Those are good. I'm Audio Technica all the way too.
And this one actually, great story. Because again, God, we were ending this shit.
we're getting this is
what we're into.
This is for us.
So this was kind of a neat one here for me. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna end the show.
Okay.
Do not go anywhere.
You and I are gonna chat.
And then we're gonna end the show, and then I'm gonna start a show because I think I can do that. Because if you know StreamYard. So if I end this.
You're gonna have to make a new.
We'll have to make a new channel. Fuck it then.
Yeah.
So this one was actually I lucked out. So I ordered this off of Amazon because I wanted the chrome look to it because I thought it would look better on the camera. And when I ordered it, the guy was like, it showed up, and I had my one son. He's 17. I was like, hey, do me a favor. I'm busy with dinner or something like that. I was like, can you go put that in? He's like, Dad, it won't go on. And I started looking, and I'm like, no shit, he's absolutely right. Well, it's got this shock mount. Well, the one they sent me didn't have a shock mount. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, can you just send me a shock mount? It's not a big deal. This shock mount is like $80. The real Audio Technica shock mount is expensive. So the guy goes, I can't send you the shock mount. We don't have it. I was like, bro, I don't want to send you this mic back. I really want this mic. He's like, no. Don't worry about it. We're going to refund you. Keep the mic. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we're going to refund you. Keep the mic. I'm like, okay. And I had my son go online, and he found like an off-brand version of the shock mount for like $20. I'm like, okay. So I paid $20. This is like almost a $200 mic.
I will say you sound fantastic on that microphone. Like you sound really good on that mic. That mic is definitely made for your voice.
I don't know this. Aha, got it. Look at that. You see that?
Yeah. Oh, he flew away.
No, he died. He's right there. But yeah, well, you know what? And anybody who's still sticking around with us 2 hours. God, I don't know if I've done a 2 hour other than Aaron. But if you're into podcasting, you want to get into it, it is worth it to spend the money on a good mic.
Okay, I'm throwing an idea out to you because, dude, I am like when it comes to podcasting, like I am like super versed in so much stuff. Like
Mhm.
I am like my like days are spent like listening to podcasts about podcasting. Like I know
Oh, really?
so much ridiculous stuff about it. So if you want to at a later date, just do a deep dive into like a above the bar podcast all about podcasting, you and I can sit down and probably talk for another 2 hours all about the technicalities of podcasting and even giving tips to people on, if they want to start a podcast or something like that. Like I'm all about that. I'm
I
all about talking about podcasting with people.
I would love to do that, and if we did that, I'd have to get the Podfather involved, who is the Podfather is my buddy Herb.
Oh, Herb.
So Herb's been podcasting since almost 12 years.
He's an OG guy.
Yeah, like he heard Kevin Smith podcast and went, "Well, that's pretty cool. I can do that." And has been doing it ever since. He had his original network, which was called FBI Fanboys Inc.
Oh, I didn't even know that. All I know is the Smodcast stuff.
Right. Well, no, Herb had
Herb.
Herb had FBI, which was Fanboys Inc. And that was very pop culture oriented, comic book movies and stuff like that. And most of my fans know I've got a pretty nasty comic book habit.
Now see, there we go. There's a whole nother thing we could dive into.
like what you can't see behind the camera right now. Let's see if I can get my camera not to jack up for me. Like this is the other side. Like no one's ever seen the other side of the bar. Like that's one of my racks.
You have an actual rack.
I have 2 racks.
Oh my God. So does your wife.
Hey, now look at like that. You're absolutely right there too. So he started with that and then he ended that one. And now he's got the network I'm on, Earplug Podcast, which again, multiple shows. And he actually, you want to talk about somebody who, like, I was going to get a P6, which is the panel that's got all the extra buttons. And he was the one that was like, Murph, you don't need that. He's like, he's like, it's great, but you're never going to use it. You're going to get more shit than you need. But he's a big Zoom audio guy. Like he was like, that's what you need. Zoom audio.
And like what you were saying, you were all about like the H1, like to go for the H4. That to me, like you're getting 2 XLRs and on that, and that's perfect and you can probably find a used one. Like I bought my H6, which you can actually get those for like around $250.
Yes.
But you can probably get an H4 Pro for under 200 at this point, and you have 2 XLR inputs on that, and you get an SM58. Like, I mean, because that's the way you're going to want to interview people. You don't want to be just as example. So I have an older H1 and this thing just malfunctions. It's a piece of junk. Okay, so this is my H1. This is an older one.
I like the color on it.
Yes, it was a special buy. But to go around at a event and you're like literally like passing
nowhere and it's not going to ever end.
This is not a good interviewing mic because it records in stereo. It's recording a left or right, which is what an H1 does. So you're going to get 2 tracks. Everything's going to be this side and that side. So it's going to sound really freaking weird.
Especially in a large group setting.
Yeah. Especially when you're in a big area and you are trying to record. So getting right here I have a Samson, an R21.5, which is like literally like a $20 or $30 microphone. Once again, XLR.
Listen, folks, if you're still sticking with us at this point, the USB mics are great if you're doing video games and that
What
kind of stuff.
what we're doing right now.
If you the XLR mic makes a world of difference. It really does. It just it's a different animal in and of itself.
But
Uh,
yes, but I would suggest if you're going to be going to events, and this is what I did when I first started. I'm like, I did exactly what you were thinking. I went out with this sucker, and I went out, and it was like, ooh, this is just kind of odd, and it sounds weird. I can't make it sound right. And then I went out and got the H6, plugged a SM58 into it, and I'd walk around like,
would you just put the H6 in your pocket or something?
yeah, no, I have a strap for it. I put it over my shoulder, and like I put fresh batteries in it and just plug this into it and put some earbuds in so you can kind of hear it. So you're not clipping.
You know, oh, that's
And
the
you just walk
worst.
around and blah 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 blah. Hey, so blah blah blah, and then you put it in their face. Blah
Is there
blah
anything
blah.
worse than somebody going the entire time they're talking?
Well, if you're talking to that guy from the movie Enemy Mine,
Which was a great movie.
yeah.
Say again, don't make any more left turns. Like
Zombies.
Zombies, dummies. Oh
You
god, such a
Mickey
great movie.
Mouse. You Mickey Mouse.
Such a great movie. Yeah, we have our first live event coming up too, which
This is exciting.
if everything works out, stays August, let's see, August 6th, we have our friends Amanda Love coming on with the other ladies to prepare for August 14th. My wife and I are going to our first drag show. And then August 7th, Dave, and I have to look up Dave's last name. I think it's Dwell. He was a former pro wrestling referee, like a legit referee for pro wrestling. Yeah, exactly.
Get a red card.
No, like real, like pro wrestling, like
yellow card.
Gorilla Monsoon, those guys.
Oh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who is actually from Glens Falls, New York, just up the road from me. But he was a legit referee, and we're going to interview him on the 7th because on the weekend of the 14th, I believe it's the 14th, I have to double check it, is the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame inductions. And that's going to be our first live event where we're actually going to be there 3 days, setting up, interviewing former pro wrestlers, watching matches go on, seeing the inductions, and it's pretty impressive.
So this is exactly perfect. So you buy yourself a couple little mic stands and 2 SM58s. You plug these suckers into your H4n, and you guys sit across the table from each other and you record an episode of your podcast.
So if I can
you can't do that with an H1n. Oh my God, this is great. There you go. There's one you could do. You could put a microphone on that.
Yep.
All right. So you're halfway there.
So we've got a couple of I've already got a couple of mics. So I actually thought about it. So I got this mic. I have 2 mic stands. I probably have to get, my goal is to have, so I was going to bring my H4 the P4 that I've already got and just set it up because it has the 4, it actually can take, it's pretty impressive. So it has 4 XLMR inputs and it can do a phone input at the same time.
But can I see a picture of this device you're talking about?
Let's see if I can get it. Cause let's see if we can do it this way. If anyone is still sticking with us right now, we're just geeking out on like dumb shit.
Yeah. And gear. We're
We're gearing right now.
Oh, all right. That's a Zoom P4.
That's a Zoom P4, which is strictly for podcasting. And
So, but that does not have a built-in recorder. You
uh,
cannot record
yes, no,
directly
I can put
like an SD card in it.
yeah, I can put an SD card in this. It has battery backup on it. It
All right.
has four headphone inputs, four mic inputs. It has a spot for
All right.
a cell phone, and it actually has on the screen. It has a small LCD
All right.
screen, and it actually has start, stop, menu, and
You
an
do
enter.
not need an H1 at all. You have that right there. That's exactly what that is.
But
You have
I can't interview with this.
why not?
Because it doesn't have a built-in mic that I can like just hand to somebody.
Yeah.
This is more designed like for what you and I are doing if we were face to face.
No, you can take that with you and plug a microphone into it.
Let me make sure this does have it because I know it does it. Yeah, it's got the SD card on the side.
Yeah, you can use that as a recorder. You can take the microphone you have. You could take your stand and your microphone that you have now, set it up on a table, and take a second and plug that into that device. Then you can also take another microphone and plug that into there, and you can record. It's a recorder slash a USB interface, which is what you're using it as right now. You're using it as an interface to transfer your microphone into your computer. You can also use that device to take with you as a portable recording device to plug in up to 4 microphones and a cell phone.
Yes. Yes.
And record all 5 of those things simultaneously in a remote area.
Yeah, I love this thing. Like this is like the P4. I wasn't gonna get it, and Herb was like, "You don't need what you want." Like I was like, "I want something that," because the 6 has I want to say it's 32 sounds it can do. So I was like, I want to say it's the 6, but I was like, this thing will do 32 sounds. I'm amazing. And I was like all about it. We're so into art. We're just geeking out at this point, folks. If you're still listening to this, you are the most amazing listeners ever in the history. If you've dropped out, I understand. I completely get it because
we're ultimate boring. We're ultimate boring right now, and Sean and I will definitely we should do a bonus episode of Above the Bar podcast where we just geek out about podcasting. Like you asked me before if I had watched any past episodes, and I remember I did check into one, and you were talking to someone else about podcasting, and I remember you talking to them about all the podcasting stuff, and I was just like, this is the stuff I like to talk about. I'm like, dude, I get this. You know, I could sit and like, we literally could do another 2 hours all about like virtual podcasting, like, and that's it. So,
well, I have a buddy, Sean Walchif, and he has a show called Digital Media, and he also restaurant guy. He has Cali Comfort Barbecue out in California, and he's who got me into the like. I didn't understand digital media at first. Like I didn't understand what I needed to do as far as like every time somebody's coming on the show, you need to make sure that you're broadcasting, you're doing what you can, make sure that you're putting it out everywhere so people can see it.
Yeah.
And it builds that popularity. And he talked about some of the people he's interviewed guys that have 5, 10 million followers.
Doesn't mean anything.
And well, you know, what's interesting though, is those guys will all say that they won't do business with somebody without a digital footprint.
There is a truth to that, but if you really think about it, businesses will pay for the digital footprint.
But you have to reach a point for that. Like that was Aaron's big thing. When I met Aaron, he was like, Murph, he's like, this is going to be your biggest show from a digital standpoint as soon as I get a hold of this. And he was all about it, and he broadcast, and he made sure everybody jumped on it. And I have a feeling this will be another one like that, even though you and I are almost 2.5 hours.
No, yeah, this is
We're at
this
this
for
point,
us.
we're at our fucking time.
That's the best part about it, and this is why this medium is great because this is for us.
At this
It
point, we're at
literally
our
this is for us, and, you and I tried to talk and share a story that was gonna interest people, and if they're interested in who you are and who I am, they're gonna be continuing to listen to this.
it's
But the thing is like, it's just a conversation between 2 guys that have a lot of similarities, a lot of things that they're interested in, and, I mean, I'm so very thankful that I get to be here with you tonight on the Above the Bar podcast, and I really honestly thank you, Sean, for inviting me to be on here, and it's been like I've been chomping at the bit for, like, the last 3 months because 'cause you're like, "Yeah, I can get you on, like, 3 months from now," and I'm like,
like
"Dude,
people don't
this is cool." I'm like, "This is a good problem to have." I'm like, "If you are that far booked out with guests," I'm like,
bro, I'm
"Good
booked in
for you.
November. I'm booked in November.
This is good for you,
Like
man."
I have to pause myself. So I've tell people all the time, my wife is my biggest supporter, and she's the one who's bought probably 90% of my podcasting equipment. Um, and she knows that this is something I enjoy. If I can make this profitable, um, and I haven't got into that point yet because I just enjoy it and I don't want to make it into a job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude, you're in an area that I know all about.
I want to keep enjoying it. Um, but we've talked about it and I just lost my train of thought. But you know, the podcasting thing is something I so enjoy. I'm so into, and this is, this is God, there's so many ways you can look. This is my therapy. This is my conversation.
It
This
is.
is this is my ability to meet other people who have similar interests that I do. Like reality of anybody who's staying with us, there is no place on God's green earth where Scott and I meet. It's
Yeah,
not
that's true.
until the internet creates podcasting and then it becomes let's hang out.
Yeah.
And this is a fun thing for both of us because we both enjoy it. This is a medium of uh entertainment that we both enjoy. We both get something out of. I've met I've met some of the coolest people. Do you ever watch what's the
MASH.
doggone MASH was a good show. I've actually been to Klinger's restaurant in doggone Ohio. Toledo I actually like.
Toledo.
Toledo, Ohio. I can't remember the name of the doggone restaurant now, but I've been there, and there's hot dogs on the wall, autographed by people because they go to the golf tournament for Klinger. God dog it, I can't remember the name of it, but you just threw my train of thought off. Patty Negri. Have you ever watched Ghost Hunters?
No, because ghosts aren't real, so I don't watch stuff
Oh,
like that.
well, see that's what's great. And so you say ghosts aren't real. I've met Patty on my show, and she's a sweetheart. She's the greatest person. But at the same time, I've met Banachek. Do you know who Banachek is?
No.
Do you know who the amazing Randini was?
It sounds familiar.
He was the guy that had the $1 million challenge that said if you could prove that anything supernatural, alien, or paranormal was real, they would give you $1 million. But
So, did he read the latest release from the Pentagon about
right.
the,
Yeah, right.
UFOs?
But the great Randini said, "Hey, if you can prove this under scientific
Fact.
parameters,
Yeah.
then I will give you $1 million." And no, Aaron, this is never going to end. This is never going to end.
He sent that like 45 minutes
Oh
ago.
God, like it might have been. Yeah, it actually was 15 minutes ago. But I've met those guys. So that's the greatest thing about this medium is I've had the ability to meet not only Patty, who has gone and done ghost hunting. That's her thing. She believes what she in that. and it's super like if you talk to her, Scott, I'm telling you, you'll be like, you get that vibe, like, oh shit, like let
she
me
has
go.
nice.
She does. Let me go check around corners. Let me make sure everything's legit here. At the same time, talking to Banachak, who is like, in the 70s, I proved all this stuff to be BS.
Okay, so he's a skeptic.
Not even a skeptic. He was involved in college experiments where they tried to prove this stuff to be real. He was a teenager and made these scientists look like idiots. Like legit.
I like this guy. He sounds very intelligent. So
He's extremely. If you ever get a chance, look up Banachak. He was actually one of Chris Angel's advisors on his show.
oh, okay.
Like he's legit. He has sold the ways he does tricks to Penn and Teller.
I have a trick I'll show you.
Woo, look at that shit right there, folks. Look at that right there. Two old guys playing with their fingers. But yeah, so that's the other side of this medium is the ability to meet people that I know right now a gentleman who is who owns the largest collection of serial killer memorabilia in the United States. And he's also a world record knife thrower. Dr. Reverend David Adamovich is a world record in his 70s knife thrower, speed, the entire 9 yards. And that site you were talking about, podcast guest directory?
Yeah.
It started with another gentleman I met on there who connected me with him, who connected me with somebody who connected me with Banachak, and that's how I've gotten going. It's truly how this is all kind of going.
Oh, see, I could give you. So I was having a discussion with my girlfriend last night about how, when you talk about
she's your girlfriend. Let's ask that question first.
Does she know?
Does she know she's your girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay, just check.
But we were talking about she was asking me about when I started my podcast, what I was expecting, where I thought it was going, and kind of how I actually met her because she was a guest of mine on my podcast, and that's how we met, and all once again through the beard community.
What's her background in the beard community?
She's a whiskerina.
Oh, nice.
And I got tasked to interview her for a competition in Austin, and one thing led to another, and this happened like 4 years ago, and we've kept in touch, and just one thing led to another, and next thing you know, where we are at. But she was just kind of talking about the whole thing of when you start your podcast and what you're expecting, who are you expecting to meet, where are you expecting this to go. And this is our conversation last night as we were out walking, and I was thinking about all the things of because of my podcast, this has happened. Because of my podcast, that's another big story of you started your podcast, you've interviewed all these different people. Where has that taken you? Where has that road taken you? What has your life improved? Have you learned things that have been holy shit? Or, of course, some guests are duds, and you're not going to ever tell them that, but
no,
there's definitely wasted time in there, but there are also those certain guests that are they're holy cow, they change everything in your world and your whole outlook of everything. And it's just
how you view things.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that. So I don't know if you're on LinkedIn or not.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
I'm on MySpace.
But okay, I mean, I don't even know how
to continue. God,
I don't even know how to address that.
I know you
don't. One of you talk about listening to other shows. For my work life, I listen to a guy named Marcus Edwards.
Oh my God, I listened to him too.
Sure, I don't buy any bit of that.
No,
But,
you're good. You're good. You're picking up on my bullshit real well.
It's good. But Marcus Edwards is this amazing podcaster who is in the industry that I work in. You talk about podcasting. This is a guy I reached out to just recently and said, brother, not only do I love your show, you've helped me get better at my job. And the guy was like, and what was funny about it is this is a guy who, if you ever listen to him, he would tell you, I get reached out all the time and I can see salespeople 100 miles away.
Yeah. He saw your genuinity. Like he
Right.
saw how genuine you were.
And I just told him, I was like, man, I really appreciate what you do, how you do it. And it really makes a difference in the business I'm in. You talked about railroading. I walked away from a very good railroading salary and went into an industry that I have a passion for. I do have a passion for podcasting, but I went into an industry I have a passion for because I really love to help people. Completely sidebar, not going to mention it. You can go find me if you really want to know about it, folks, because it's not coming on the show.
Flippingburgers.com.
Yeah, I'm really into burgers. Burgers are so amazing. If you want your burgers to be better, folks, Lipton onion soup mix will change your life. And I mean that.
You are definitely a child of the 80s.
Right? Like my grandmother, like that was my grandmother's thing, was like Lipton onion soup mix in the burgers.
Yep. I know that trick.
Like that shit will change a burger completely. If your burger don't have Lipton onion soup mix, don't come and talk to me. Like that's just a thing. Don't even talk to me. Like I've been to some really good burger places, and if your patty looks like it's symmetrical, I will look at it and go, so you just brought a frozen ass patty, maybe put some seasoning on there.
Yep.
If it's not like, if it doesn't look like your hands went back and forth on it,
handmade,
like I'm going to question your integrity as a burger maker. Even doggone Five Guys legitimately like makes a patty and puts it on the grill.
But they don't put the Lipton onion soup in there.
No, they don't put Lipton onion soup mix in their burger. That's
okay, Sean. We're gonna leave it there. We're talking.
All right,
Lipton onion soup mix in your burger. That's it.
We got to do this.
The end.
Because you and I are gonna get. All right, so you get the final word, brother.
Oh, well, I will. All I'm going to say is if you so are inclined to find out anything more about myself, you can go to talkingbeards.com. Find me on Facebook, Scott Sykora. I really greatly appreciate everyone for tuning in. That's tuned into this, listen to this. I mean, I know we've been super chaotic and all over the gosh darn place. And I know that when I come back, it's going to be another 2.5 hours of more chaotic stuff. But if you guys have any questions about anything we talked about tonight, you can either reach out to Sean, reach out to me. You can hit me up at talkingbeards1@gmail.com. But it's been an absolute pleasure, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on Above the Bar podcast.
That White Claw got you.
And you are going to definitely be on Talking Beards here coming up, and we greatly appreciate your support, and we love seeing you in our chat room every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. when we do our live show. So thank you very much.
You got it, brother. All right, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.